Yay! It actually fucking worked. Anyway, hello there. I am the common sense guy, and I've been having so many technical difficulties at this moment in time. But the good thing is, I had my Jack and Coke, and it's my birthday. Happy birthday to me! And I'm here with Magic Bollocks, and we are going to be talking about some sort of Brexit situation that is now going to be exposing the actual truths of how an apocalyptic Brexit is not actually true at all, and even the HMC has actually come out and said this. You know, apocalyptic. So, Mr. Bollocks, how are you all doing today?
Oh, just me's doing fine. How is
Just
your computer? I want to know, how is your computer now? Is she calmed down?
no, hasn't. It's still skipping everywhere.
Yeah, we had this conversation before we came on. He's definitely got a female computer because, and it's definitely time of the day. It's really playing up.
Yeah, it is indeed. It is indeed at this minute in time. I think I might be all right. I'm going to quickly load up something that might completely fuck the computer, but we'll see what happens.
Do it. Live dangerously, man. Live on the edge.
I don't know. This is the video that I'll be doing later. Well, we will be doing later, as long as it fucking works. But we've got a couple of stories that we want to get into first. But it's been a long time since I've spoken to you, Mr. Bollocks. What have you actually been up to, and how's your New Year's and Christmas been?
Oh, it's been quieter than it was last year. You know, we've obviously talked before about Christmas 2017 was a little bit eventful between me and my father. Well, he seems to go around in cycles because the year before that, he was very happy. Last year, he was a miserable sod. And then this time, yeah, he was back to happy again.
Yeah.
And part of that was probably eased by him getting a present that he generally seemed to like, which is very difficult for that man. The type that you can, I wouldn't say he's got everything he could possibly need. He needs a sense of humor, but nobody's been able to buy it for him yet. But I got him a Chinese knockoff GoPro, and he was just completely bowled over. I was like, ooh, all the things I could do with this thing. So literally sat by himself in a corner all day, just messing around with this thing, trying to get it to fit onto his helmet, trying to get it to fit on his torso with this bloody thing that came with it. And yeah, he was well made up. And so
I bet. I don't mean this in a horrible way. I bet you his mum, your mum was as well.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, helmets and torsos. How else do they make them?
Mate, as far as I'm concerned, that image has been blanked from my memory and will never ever be inserted again. Don't forget that my sisters and I were probably manufactured in a lab or something, but it definitely wasn't from procreation. I refuse to believe that.
That's definitely not true.
But yeah, so Christmas Day was fine, apart from everybody being asleep, and New Year's, like most everybody else I spoke to, didn't do anything, because when I ever asked all my friends and anybody I knew what you're doing, they all said nothing. Nope, not doing out, not going anywhere. Just going to stay in, have a few drinks and all that. So I thought, well, you lot are all going to be miserable and boring. So am I. So that's what I did. I saw her in the new year in the most boring and mundane way possible.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I didn't want to stand out from the crowd by having a bit of fun. You know, if that's the fashion these days, to be boring and old, then fine, I'm up for it.
I think it's being conservative.
Oh, well, in that case, my dad must have gone out clubbing.
He
would never associate himself with that word. Yeah, but yeah, it was just a typical new year for me, because it seems once you get into your sort of 20s and 30s, it doesn't have the same sort of fun that it used to, and you certainly don't care when the decorations come down now and everybody goes back to their usual miserable selves. It just that's just what we do best, I think.
I just tend to wait until January 5th, January 6th time, and then I just get pissed.
Oh, that's nothing to do with the fact you've just gained another year, is it?
It has everything to do with that particular reasoning, yes. Especially now, the older that I'm getting, the more that I drink normally compensates for that.
Oh, okay. So you're going to have what? Instead of 31 liters like you did last year, 32 today.
I am indeed, and there is no comparison to my age whatsoever in that.
32 liters, and then let's talk about Brexit just to cheer ourselves up.
Well, no, because the reason why I wanted to talk about Brexit is not because I think that it's a great and amazing thing, which, by the way, I do think that, but it's not the reasoning why I wanted to talk about it. It's because that one of the lords has actually made some good of his actual standing and has made a report, has been on the news and has done the rounds, so to speak. And he's actually been able to give a list of 30 falsehoods about Brexit. And I think it's quite interesting, especially considering that he's actually been on Sky News about this as well. And because my computer is absolutely amazing at this moment in time, because it's broken and it's doing well, and this is why you do not drop your computer ever on the floor. It doesn't help it by any stretch of the imagination. Not by any stretch of the imagination, in actual fact. And hopefully, because I'm a little bit of a boomer and I was not fucking ready on this, I am going to show you what I was doing. There we go. Present to everybody. Because everybody wants... I can do this. It's a unit system. So, Lord Lily, and yes, I love that name, by the way. And I'm sure Magic Box has got something to say about that crap.
It's not the worst name I've ever seen. Oh, that MP lady man used to make me laugh, but yeah, Lily, that's quite tame, isn't it? Really,
isn't that a bit foreshadowing for today's climate, lady man?
Yeah, it is a bit. He was the transport secretary under was it? I think it was Brown's premiership, so he won't be in May's cabinet or in their party, unfortunately. And I can't think of anybody who's got any particularly humorous names. I mean, even this chap, he's Lord Lily, isn't he? So yeah. I mean, I was hoping he had a first name like Hillary or something, so it really, he had a completely non-binary name completely. Yeah,
it's Peter.
Oh, that's a shame. That is a shame.
But to be fair, it sounds like an actual plant. Oh yes, I would like to buy a dozen Peter lilies, please.
Peter, I recognise that name though, because I'm sure he was in Major's cabinet in the 90s, and I'm trying to think what he did. It'll come to me later on. So I'm fixated by Kathy Newman's, curly fry hair.
Yeah, well, we're not going to watch Kathy Newman today because I want to be happy drunk rather than angry drunk.
Oh, come on. I always wondered what Common Sense's price would be if she turned up in, a leather, crotchless knickers.
Oh, I'd do her. I'd do her. I'd definitely do her. She's one of those women that you wouldn't do her because you fancy her. You'd do her just to hear her scream.
I think she did that after she realized she'd buggered up the Jordan Peterson interview.
Well, she definitely screamed about something, but it wasn't about Jordan Peterson.
Oh, I see. Oh, I didn't realize. Oh, I see. So when she's all on her own, she is always thinking about the patriarchy.
Well, she is a feminist.
She is, but it's what makes her be the feminist, though, isn't it? She's rebelling against something she actually loves.
Well, don't most of us? Don't most of us always rebel against the parents that we love? Don't most of us always rebel against the school that after we've left, we kind of miss?
Oh, does that mean then we're rebelling against the SJWs that we all love?
I don't think that's... I don't think the rebellion, and I know nobody can see me because I use massive air quotes as I did that, but I don't think that the rebellion that is being played out in society is actually a rebellion. It's more of a counter-strike, I suppose. It's more of a counterculture where people are going, I believe that there's more genders than anybody else that ever has been created in the world. Well, I know that there's two.
I'm aware of two myself, yes. But I think we've this analogy has sort of run out of steam a little bit, but you know, if Owen Jones ever watches this, we think you're a complete and utter bell end, but we do love you.
Well, some people do. I don't love you. I don't love you at all. I love how smart that you think that you are, when in actual fact, every time I've ever seen you in an interview with somebody opposing you, you get destroyed. I find that funny, and I almost feel sorry for you.
Okay. No, that's fine. Common sense. You know, you oppress your love all you want.
I will repress my love for the person who oppresses me, because he is a champagne socialist telling me, the working man, how to live.
Yeah, but he wrote a book on the working class. He obviously knows all about us.
You mean the same person as in somebody that's never been in a factory telling people how to run a factory?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, no, that was Marx.
Well, I don't know about a factory, but somebody told me he is a dodgy butcher.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. I think I've just ruined the stream.
Well, I wouldn't say that you've ruined the stream. I just thought that you were going to come up with something better than butcher.
Certainly not, mate. This is full on innuendo.
Hey, get out of my endo. I'm getting in yours.
He said this was about Brexit, and all it's done is just descended straight into the gutter.
Isn't that what people on the left think the Brexit is? Aren't we just doing what they think we're going to do?
Oh, very nicely brought back around. I like it.
So, Lord Lilly lists 30 Brexit no-deal truths. See, one thing that I really do hate, and I am actually turning into an angry drunk, one thing that I do actually really hate about this is the Brexit no deal. It's not a no deal. There's no such thing as a no deal. We go on to World Trade Organization rules. We go on to WTO, which is what 70 to 80% of the fucking world trades on. It's only the European Union and people that trade with the European Union that do not trade with a World Trade Organization tariff.
Yep.
I just hate that the Brexiteers themselves are falling into that trap of going, yeah, well, we're going to, we're not going to have a deal. It's like, no, you motherfuckers, we are going to have a deal. It's not a no deal. Stop playing their games.
I suppose what they're trying to, we've all got into this horrible lexicon now of using certain terms, isn't it? Because, if you'd gone back 10 years in time and said to somebody Brexit, they'd just assume you had a speech impediment. So, and of course, now everybody knows what the hell it means. It's. I suppose they think of the simplest way it's going to get across to people, isn't it? And in terms of saying, "Oh, no deal," which is the idea that we just leave, and to some people, that's it. We have nothing more to do with Europe, and maybe that's what they think. Maybe condescendingly think that's what all Brexiteers think. Is that they all are people who just are full on, xenophobes who hate European. Well, I mean, we do. We can't stand the French. But the point being is that.
Yeah, but that's not just Europe. We like Europe. We just dislike the French.
All right. We like constant Europe. It's the people who live in it we have a problem with. It is the idea is that they want to simplify everything down to the lowest common denominator. But I know what you mean. What you're saying is you just wish they say, don't say no deal, say WTO terms. But again, I suppose it doesn't sound as catchy, does it?
Or just leave. Leave would have done. Instead of it being Brexit no deal, just go leaving the EU. Keep it as simple as it is, because that's what it would be. Leaving the EU with no deal from it doesn't mean that you say no deal. It just goes into being WTO.
It's like everything's got to have a soundbite now, isn't it? So everything's got a catchphrase or a catchy term, which obviously Brexit is one, or as you said, no deal, remain, just all these sort of things, isn't it? Oh, and of course, racist, sexist, they're all good buzzwords as well. White supremacist, that's another good one as well. Sounds sounds shocking, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I find it really interesting what you were saying beforehand about how people don't want to talk to the Brexiteers, so to speak, because of prejudice. As in, well, if I talk to a Brexiteer, then they're going to think this. I mean, that's literally the definition of a prejudice. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're racist or xenophobic towards it. It doesn't necessarily mean that. But the definition of prejudice is prejudging somebody based on political ideas, motivations, or um, other descriptors. And yet, with those people that say that they are the most tolerant people in the world, and this is a trend, this is a trend, that it seems that they aren't the most tolerant people in the world because they classify everybody into specific lists and labels.
Well, don't you think the greatest oxymoron of our times is those placards where they say, I'm intolerant. No, I'm intolerant of intolerance, which in itself makes no sense at all. Because if you're not tolerant of intolerance, then that makes you just as intolerant as the intolerance you claim to see.
Yeah, it's kind of like people that go across going, "Oh, Black Lives Matter." Yeah, but all lives matter. No, just Black Lives Matter. It's like what?
Well, yeah, I suppose to them, but people like Sean King, who doesn't, who I mean, he wishes his Black Lives mattered, but to the to the people at the very top, it does matter because it's making them lots of money. But to the other lot, it's just a case of, yeah, let's find somebody else to blame for all our culture's fuck ups. That's we live in a time now where nobody wants to take responsibility for their own, balls ups, and you could almost say that Brexit is kind of like that, because I think one of the major reasons why our establishment is so keen on us staying in the EU is because for the last sort of 30 years, or nearly 30 years, they haven't really had to take any responsibility for the nation state, because any decisions that come along, they can just say, oh, I've nothing to do with this. It's all to do with the EU. Can't do nothing about it. We just do as they say. And we've effectively been electing nothing more than bureaucrats who are there to implement whatever the European Union decides since, was it 92? So they don't like the idea of having to be held responsible for decisions they make, which could end up with them losing their jobs. And then they haven't got a nice, easy, cushy European Commission to go and reside in once their political careers have ended in failure. One of the finest examples of that is Neil Kinnock, who became a very high-profile MEP and called us all xenophobic, racist idiots because he's going to lose his £800,000 pension. Oh, what a shame! What a shame! What a shame! I really, honestly, mate, it must have been. I didn't realize how much hatred for the Welsh I had when I put that X in the leave box on back in June.
No, you weren't being angry at the Welsh. You were being angry at the Europeans. You were being angry at everybody but the French in Europe, because you're allowed to be angry at the French.
Well, I gotta admit, I never thought I'd say this, but I have a slight admiration of them at the moment with what they're doing over there. Well, not the establishment, obviously, but the ordinary French man and woman who are actually out in the streets every weekend smashing the place up at the moment. Normally that was
Macron is actually losing ground and support out there for some reason.
Well, I mean, if you only watch the mainstream news like the BBC and Sky, you'd think that all dissertation in France was already crushed, because apparently there's been no coverage on the Yellow Vest protest since the 26th of December. And even then, it was only a tiny little snippet, which is, oh, we go over to France. And as we can see, there's lots of people celebrating his emperorness, Macron, by wearing his favorite color. So now on to the weather.
Yeah. Did you see the Manchester yellow jackets? I mean, there's only like 40 of them and so on and so forth that were protesting for pro-Brexit. And fine, they're allowed to do that and whatnot. But because they were corralled outside of Greg's up in Manchester. You had people on the left saying that they were protesting the fucking vegan sausage rolls. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that there should be anything like a vegan sausage roll. But to say that people were literally going out to protest it, I'm not sure that we're that bad yet. But the levels of immaturity and just the plain belief that when somebody in Providence says, oh, well, they did it for this reason. And then everybody's like, oh, I can't believe they did that. Oh, I can't believe they did that. The level of biasness that comes from a particular set of ideology is it's just amazing to me. It really fucking is.
So what do they think that the French are currently protesting about then? What, poor cuisine? Is that what they think all these people are going out for every weekend? Which has nothing to do with Macron. They're just sick of shit food.
No, most people think that it's just to do with fuel prices. Now, it's not just to do with fuel prices. It's to do with the fact that they put up the fuel prices, yes, but the reason why they put up the fuel prices is because all the rich that were in Paris and in big cities were able to either commute to work using trains, cars, motorbills, and whatever. And they were able to do that, but the common people, the common person, so to speak, wasn't able to commute like that because most people can't afford to live in the city, so they have to commute from the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
As well as other things, as the EU forcing the French to make sure that they keep below a 3.0% GDP spendage on greenhouse gases and so on and so forth, which forces the GDP from France also to go on to taxation, which is also increasing into property taxes as well at this minute in time, is not particularly a great look for most of the business owners as well as the socialists that want to just go to work, which is the reason why the Yellow Jackets themselves are actually both united against Macron. Amazingly, some centrist politician has managed to unite the right and the left in this by sheer hatred of the centre.
Yes. I think also
that's just a synopsis, though.
It's definitely sort of become a full-on anti-globalization rally now, isn't it? They're sick of what's basically happening throughout the Western world. You know, they don't feel like they're getting decent prospects. You know, their wages aren't growing. They're constantly bringing in more and more people who are competing for goods and services, and they're just seeing their lives getting shitter and shitter. And what do? They vote in another person who claims that, you know, they're going to make things better. But then
the biggest establishment members that have ever actually run as a centrist ever in the history of ever.
Well, ex-Rothschild banker as well. And it's like, what the fuck were you lot thinking? But then
I mean, French you can tell he's a soy boy because he married his mother's best friend.
His mother's best friend.
Well,
so I'm just picturing my mum's best friend now, and it's like, yeah, I think I would have been celibate for a long time now.
Sure.
The whole idea, though, that in France they kind of vote differently to how we do, which is you had, say, over here, the old people will normally vote right-wing conservative, and like with Brexit, was a lot of old people voted to leave Brexit, and over there, though, it seems that the old people tend to retire to the sticks and then vote for the status quo. And that's pretty much what put Macron in, even though obviously Le Pen had the handicap of having her father's name round her neck, unfortunately, which put a lot of people off. But, you know, I honestly don't think any of these French people bothered reading the manifestos of either party, because old...
Are you supposed to do that now?
Marie Le Pen's manifesto wasn't that different from, say, Labour's 2015 party manifesto. It was very, I mean, she has a lot of, I wouldn't say socialist, but sort of high welfare-ish sort of policies. You know, she wanted to decrease massive spending on things like healthcare and education and transport. Again, I don't know how it will be funded. We know the French aren't that big on paying tax, but whereas Macron...
Is anybody, though? Apart from the Russians.
I think if you feel that your taxes are being well spent, you're probably less likely to complain about it, even though you're right. Nobody really likes paying tax, but it's when you have progressive tax and you see very little for it. You know, your taxes are constantly going up, and yet services seem to deplete, and you see money going to things that you don't agree with, like, I don't know, foreign aid and stuff like that. It gets annoying.
Yeah, no, I completely not agree with you, especially looking at the way that the British budget itself is going at this moment in time. It's
Yeah.
one thing that I do completely not agree with on the left on that one, and that is that the Conservatives themselves are not cutting in the right areas. Rather than trying to be the food bank for the rest of the world, and I use that as a literal pun, is that we shouldn't be a food bank for the rest of the world because the rest of the world fucking comes to us anyway. So why should we pay other governments to send us their worst, and I mean that in a literal sense, when all we're doing is paying to keep them with their best? It doesn't make sense to me.
I think that's kind of like legalized people trafficking, isn't it?
Kinda. Kinda,
Yeah.
because if you got foreign aid, for instance, we've been paying Pakistan foreign aid for what, 8 to 10 years now, on off. And every time that we've been doing that, they have been sending some people towards us. Let's just say that without going into too much detail. Do you think that they're sending their best scientists? Do you think that they're sending their best doctors? Do you think they're sending their best businessmen and women? Well, men, because it's Pakistan. Do you think that they're sending all their best, or do you think that people are trying to escape a regime that's already there? Especially considering that they were a 40% Christian country around about 10 to 15 years ago, and now only a 10%, no, 8% Christian country.
I think residents in Rotherham and Newcastle and Oxford and various other places throughout the UK might have a claim on whether they think they're sending their best.
I would probably go no. But I mean, we're getting Iranians that are apparently refugees somehow.
Yeah, I just noticed MC bringing that up in the chat. I don't know if I've said this on stream before, but there is such a thing as Iranian nuclear scientists.
There is.
I know it sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? But they don't believe the same thing that, say, a Western scientist believes in terms of how does nuclear fission actually happen. They actually believe it is Allah himself who creates the nuclear fission by going into the actual uranium, and you know he's actually physically in it, and he magically causes the reaction himself. You know, the actual containers that are just there basically to contain his spirit. It's when you read about this stuff, you do tend to worry a little bit that they're putting in place people who believe this horseshit as actual supposed scientists. Now, I don't know whether they just say that because they think that their head will be detached from their body if they say anything but that, or whether or not they do generally, hand on heart, think that's true. I don't know. I'm hoping it's option A, because if it's option B, then yeah, these countries really should not have any kind of nuclear arsenal at all, because
Arsenal or Arsenal?
No, I like arsenal. That's a great new word for 2019, everybody. It's current year, so get that one in the dictionary.
I just want to make sure.
I'm claiming that now. Copyright 2019 magic bollocks. All money comes my way for use of.
God damn it. You're not getting it from my stream. You can fuck off. You've got more subs than me.
Well, you do more content than I, so I think you'll be catching me up soon.
Slowly. If every video I do, I make 2 subs, I'll be there in 10 years.
Okay, mate. It's, every step, is closer to the end goal.
Oh, yeah, they do say that, but it's more of a case of just dying in general.
He's basically saying if you aren't subscribed in the chat, you should be. And if you aren't, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
I'm more saying that it's my birthday and I need some alcohol. And if anybody wants to buy me a drink, my link to the PayPal has now just been put into the chat.
Oh, that was shameless. That was terrible.
So,
but I fully
thinking,
but I fully support it.
happy birthday to me. I think we're actually supposed to be doing a stream about something, aren't we?
Yes, we were. We were doing this Peter Lilly, and it's still not come back to me how I know that bastard, but he will do. Who is very much, Lord Lilly now. Must get his proper title. And why he believes we have nothing to fear from, as you say, WTO Brexit, not no deal. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I need to present to everybody because I'm a twat.
Maybe we should just call it Brexit, which is what it's supposed to be.
It is what it is supposed to be. It is what it is. What it is. What it is.
Mm.
That anyway. I think I got to destroy his apocalypse myths. I think I got to that point before we went into tangents.
Mm-hmm.
So, senior Tory Lord Lilly has set out a 30-point report rejecting the Theresa May's apocalyptic version of the impact of New Deal Brexit. And I'm actually quite surprised I was able to read that to a coherent level. The former Trade Secretary accused the Prime Minister of trying to play up the supposed horrors of leaving the European Union on World Trade. Oh, he did do it! Ah, he's a good boy. WTO terms. And he has written a report which will set out to MPs on Monday, listing what he describes as 30 truths about leaving the EU with... Oh, he did it. He did so well at the beginning. He did so well.
To be fair to him, he didn't actually refer to it in the way you were saying. He's just saying about, how they're projecting if we leave without a deal. Because he's obviously referring to May's current deal that's on the table, which is, we all know, is not going to pass. Even if it does, we know that it would only be with concessions, and the EU Commission's not going to budge now. They've already stated that.
Yeah, I just wish that they would stick to what they actually fucking mean, rather than it being played onto what, as you quite rightly said, the less version of the lexicon, trying to change the definition of what the word actually means. A no-deal Brexit is not no deal.
No.
It just means no deal with European Union. That's the reason why it was put as that and scripted as that. It means no deal with the European Union. It means
all it means is we did not agree a free trade agreement with the European Union before the 29th of March. That's all it means.
Yeah, completely and utterly agree with that. Yeah.
Mm.
So, Mr. Lilly, he said the government is clearly determined to play up the supposed horrors of leaving with no withdrawal agreement in the hope of persuading MPs to vote for the EU's unloved draft deal. Is he really trying to suggest that this is the EU's deal and not Theresa May's? He's got some balls, and I now will love him.
Yeah, he's certainly nailed his beliefs to the ground there, hasn't he? He definitely is a hardcore Brexiter, this one. He very much wants out.
If I had some more alcohol, I would declare my underlying... I will declare my underlying... I have already had enough alcohol, apparently. I love you.
I think I am starting to remember who he is now. I'm sure he was the Minister of the Armed Forces during Major's time. It's all starting to come back to me now. So if that's true, I don't know how successful he was, and I don't know what the military thought of him at the time, but he's winning common sense over at the moment anyway.
It might be because of the alcohol, though.
Yes, I don't know if he's a person who served himself, because you'll find a lot of, especially ex-servicemen who became political, say like David Davis, most of them aren't that keen on the European Union. And it all comes down to the idea of the European army. None of them believe in it. None of them think it could ever possibly work. And I think a lot of them take great offense to the idea that we had to fight the fuckers twice in the last century to keep our own independence, only for us to all be ended up integrated without a bullet being fired. It is kind of insulting, really.
Well, considering that it's mostly Germany that is the controlling force in the European Union, it is kind of insulting to the people that gave their lives for our sovereignty and our freedom.
It is, yeah. That's the thing that a lot of Remainers don't seem to get. Well, we know that most Remainers, and I am referring to including my own father in this, is that it's all to do with money. It's all a financial stake in the status quo being the, as they see it, the best solution financially, in terms of either a boomer who has lots of stocks and shares and a big pension pot, who thinks that the uncertainty of Brexit could potentially financially affect them. Well, don't be such a miserable, selfish cunt and actually look at the bigger picture for once.
Yeah.
You know, I just love all these people who constantly go on about how everything's so short term these days and how everything seems to be getting shitter. And yet what do? You just keep voting for the status quo. So I'm sorry, this is how things change, is by people embracing, things like this, which is, no, we don't want the status quo anymore. We're going to try something else. Yeah, it might not work. It might make things worse, but at the moment, we know things aren't getting better the way they are. So let's change tack.
Do you know what I really find really, really interesting about people that are Remainers when it comes to Brexit? And one of their arguments, now it's not their only argument, and I agree with it, but one of their arguments is that you voted for Brexit to help get the elite back in charge, yet they are so blinded by their own, as you quite rightly said, status quo and what's going on around them, that they just go, oh, you voted for the status quo. Yet, if you look at how most businesses voted, they would all have voted to stay in the European Union. So who voted with the elite and who voted with the working class?
I know.
Just ask me that.
I know. That's why I just love those videos of them recording those morons who are at the anti-Brexit rallies, because so many of them just have no understanding about what the EU even is. They think it's just the European continent, don't they?
Yes.
And that we voted to no longer be Europeans. And
by the way, I've actually had that as an argument, that people actually, I've had this on Twitter, that people actually believe that when you say that you are for Brexit, that you are for just being English and you don't want that to ever be European ever again. I've actually had that as a fucking argument.
It is maybe because they obviously say that we're the uneducated ones, because also if you went to university, you overwhelmingly were more likely to vote to remain.
Yes.
And yet, maybe...
Wait, hang on just a second. Are these the same people that keep on telling me that there's so many different genders when science says that there's only two sexes?
See, I was coming to that. The whole point being is that supposedly, these people are educated. And yet, when it comes to actual events in the real world, they've been the ones who have been sheltered from that for longer than those who didn't go to university, because if you start work at 16 or 18, you have much more experience of what the world is actually like. You haven't been mollycoddled in education until the age of sort of like your mid-20s, or even in some cases early 30s. Or if you're one of them very, very, very sad fucks who never even bother leaving education because you do a PhD, you get your professorhood, and then you just return to teaching the next generation. And then even worse than that, you suddenly seem to think that, wouldn't communism in the West be a good idea? No, it wouldn't. Try working as an ordinary person who gets very little money and takes pride in the stuff they actually manage to buy and own themselves. And you want to take that away just because somebody else who didn't work as hard as that person might not have the same as they've got? No, it doesn't work that way. And that's why the working class don't want communism and never did.
That's absolutely true. If the working class wanted to rise up against the proletariat, or the bourgeoisie, sorry, let me be correct on the terminology, if the proletariat themselves were going to rise up against the bourgeoisie, then why hasn't any of Marx's predictions ever come true? The reason why Marx's predictions never ever became true in any country was because that the proletariat were happy with what they were getting, because guess what? They could own the houses that they were living in if they could work hard enough. They could own the money in which they sold their produce to. They could own their car. They could own what they wanted to own if they could get it. Where with communism, with socialism, nobody owns anything. And with the definitions of personal property versus private property, as most communists and socialists like to try and throw out there, if you try and say what is private property to socialists is a car, housing, and stuff like that. The thing is, yeah, I agree, that is private property. But then you come to the point of it being national property. And then everything else, like cars and things like that, can also fall into that property or legal standing. And it's always confused me how people will go into that as an argument of why socialism works and why socialism will be better for me. Well, I like to own what I have. I like to go to a shop and I like to buy my bottle of Jim Beam and I like to drink it and sip it whenever I want to. But if I was under communism, would I be able to go off and buy that? Or would I have to wait until I got a fucking piece of paper from the government to tell me I'm allowed to drink?
Well, you're not that far away from it at the moment.
No, I know.
Yeah. The way that our supposed conservative government is implementing things that look suspiciously like they were dreamt up by the previous administration. Because Blair certainly liked bureaucracy and the nanny state. He certainly liked everything.
He did. He did like the nanny state, and he did like aspects of social democracy. The idea of being able to pay for social programming. Now, don't get me wrong, before Tony Blair had a son, and you can do your own research on this one yourselves, he was a full-blown socialist. He believed in socialism. He even states it in books and quotes. He believes in socialism. And then it comes to a point of him having his own kids, his own children. In other words, growing up like most of us do. And he realized that socialism would never work for his own children. Now, the idea of having socialist programs, different to socialism. I can agree with social programs. I'm sure most of us in the UK can understand at least why we do have them. I know taxation is theft, but we can understand why it happens. Tony Blair in himself, I don't like him. I never have done. I think he's a pompous prick. I think he's more up his own arse than Mr. Eaton Boy pig lover himself, Cameron. But at the same time, at least Cameron was honest with who he was, where Tony Blair was one of the most dishonest people that you could ever speak to. 1 minute he's a socialist, 1 minute he's a centrist, the next minute he's a capitalist utopianism, as in how he decided to lift all the laws for the banks and everything because the banks needed to make money. The thing is with Labour and how Labour dilly-dally and change their ideas is that they tried to change their ideas to fit with the narrative that's going on in that present day. So if the narrative was the bankers are nice people, then they would change their laws and their policies to fit with bankers. If nurses were the thing of the day, then they would change it specifically for them. Whatever would give them the most votes, similar to today, will be the reasons why they make their policies. And you can see that in every single Labour policy that's ever been made. It will be for the most popular thing at the time, not what would help Labour's principles, but what will help Labour's popularity.
Yeah. Well, obviously, once Blair took over the Labour Party in '94, after John Smith, who hadn't really had any heart trouble up to that point that anybody was aware of, suddenly had a full-blown heart attack and died. And
is that the one that said there was no WMDs?
No. John Smith was the leader everybody seems to have forgotten about that took over from Kinnock after his rather embarrassing election loss in '92, when it was almost considered by most people a foregone conclusion that Labour were going to win. And then, as John Smith was, he was Shadow Chancellor. And just before the election, he decided to give a forecast of what to expect under a Labour government. And he announced massive tax hikes. And funnily enough, Labour lost. And
I can't see why that would happen in a truly capitalist society. I can't understand why that would happen.
I've often wondered if that was deliberate ploy by John Smith, knowing that that there was no way Labour were going to win by telling everybody they were going to hike up their tax rates, knowing that he was probably the most likely to get the big job once Kinnock was out of the way. And he did. And then he died. And of course, then Blair came to prominence. And there was a joke going around in the sort of late 90s after, obviously, the things can only get better election. I'm sure most people can remember with great cringe. And they often said that, oh, Tony Blair's amazing. He's the best Tory prime minister we never had. Because so many of his policies were very much, I would say, Tory light. And he suppose he would argue that there was no way that Labour were ever going to get back in unless they moved more to the centre. And at the time, I can sort of see that. You know, loads of working class people were doing fine-ish under the Tories once you got over the sort of the early 80s backlash with the the miners and all the big industries being let go. You know, the loads of them had bought their council houses. They got jobs in the service sector. They would they were doing all right. I wouldn't say they were necessarily all happy. And there's most of the north, unfortunately, still got left to rot. But
it still does, even under the Conservatives as well.
And still does under the Conservatives, yeah. But so I get the impression that they realized that going back to what was perceived to be the 70s again, where you would have a Labour government coming in, renationalizing everything and fucking everything up, and then we'd have the IMF back in again because we'd run up a massive debt. Whereas Blair comes in a sort of a whirlwind of we're going to follow the Tories' economic plans to 2000, and then I'm going to let little Gordy, who is a proper socialist, I'm going to give him free rein then to do whatever he wants. And he comes up with a brilliant idea. Instead of creating jobs and opportunities for the northern working class, I'm going to create tax credits, because this was a brilliant idea the Clintons came up with, which was we will subsidize wages for the poor. They will feel that they're better off, where all we're really doing is allowing big corporations to get away with paying the minimum wage.
Yes, because we're going to fit the bill for you. So we're going to have capitalism not increase your wages, but we're also going to have a socialistic idea that's going to benefit you. And guess what? That means that socialism works.
Apparently. While keeping them, of course, welded to the state, and also terrified at the idea of a Conservative government, because a Conservative government will automatically get rid of all these benefits because that's what they do. And yet we have a Conservative government since 2010 that not only has increased public spending considerably, but they also brought in the living
my
wage.
missus is showing me her tits.
Is she? Oh, could she come here and show her tits?
I'm going to go now. Oh, she's coming in the room. I don't know what she's going to do. She's coming in the room. Oh, she's now showing me her legs and her vagina. Oh, she's now leaving. I don't think she liked me telling you what was going on. She's running away.
Now you see what you've done there. You see, you could have got a lot of clicks there if it wasn't so much words and more actual on-camera action.
Well, you can tell by my eyes. Look how I was bemused and attracted to.
You see, this is it. They're gonna have a lot of people now clicking back about 10 seconds to see if they can see any reflection in your eyeballs.
It's a good thing I'm not wearing my glasses.
Mrs. Common Sense, you've just become famous for all the wrong reasons, but I mean, look
Well,
what it did to
if
people
we get
like Paris
lots of
Hilton.
slobs from it, she'll come back on.
Yeah, if anybody's willing to donate about £1,000 to him right now, we'll talk about it.
Hang on, just a second, and yeah, if anybody wants to donate any, just remember it is my birthday, so I need to drink. Cheers, lads.
Yeah.
I do love a good Jim Beam.
He
Now, don't get
does.
me wrong, it's not as good as Jack Daniels and honey, but it's good enough when it's only 16 pound a bottle.
Yes, getting drunk on a budget, but
Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's quite a big bottle for £16. I mean, for the same bottle size, you're looking at about 30 something pound, or at least £28.
yeah. Well, as long as it's getting you merry in the right at the right sort of time, we don't want you getting too drunk at the moment, do we? Because I'm expecting you to sort of start shouting obscenities at the camera about how much you hate Owen Jones and how much you
Fuck that cunt. Cheers, lads. You give me more money, I'll drink more.
Oh, do you know, if I think I could have one wish right now, and that's just to get him to join this Hangouts, that'd be so much fun.
I will have to say that, yeah, that would be interesting.
It would. I mean, all you've got to do is obviously tell him that you're working class and you feel oppressed, and he would just shower you with love.
Well, the thing is with people like Owen Jones, and I mean this as the middle to higher classes that are telling people what the lower classes should and shouldn't think and do.
Mm-hmm.
When they actually speak to the lower classes, or to the low classes, whatever you want to say it as, it's a case of they will tell you what you think and what you feel. The superiority in what they say is that I'm more educated than you because, therefore, you should think this way. And as the left would say, that's not my lived experience, so fuck you.
Oh, you've got it. I mean, definitely from the 80s onwards, the middle class definitely started veering violently left because they could never be in the same political ideology as the working class when it became pretty obvious that the reason why Maggie kept winning elections was because predominantly the working class were supporting her because
Exactly.
they liked what she was offering. Okay, there was problems with her shutting down uncompetitive industries, and I do not agree.
Uncompetitive. That's the thing that I don't understand with people that have problems with it. They were uncompetitive. She wasn't shutting them down because she hated the idea of independent capital. She shut them down because they weren't competitive on a world market. Because let's be honest, with Margaret Thatcher and Reagan, they were one of the first groups of people that decided that they were going to have a world market. Don't get me wrong, we were trading worldwide before this, but they were the ones that were trying to integrate World Trade Organization rules and world trade all over the world and everything. So if they were not making any sort of capital or any sort of process, it would be a case of why would you want to listen to them? And why wouldn't you just not support them anymore and let them fail by themselves? Which is why she did that. It wasn't a case of she looked at them and went, yeah, I don't fucking like you, fuck off. It was like, no, you're not making any money, right? You're going to either live or die by yourself. And they died. Not literally, but, the business.
Oh, I know what you mean. It's the idea of embracing free markets, without restriction. There is the downside to that, as we now know, is that that's basically the birth of globalization as we now know it. And this is, I mean, at the time, you're going to look at it and you're going to think, that's a good idea. Let's stop being so inward thinking. Let's be more outward thinking. But I don't know whether that was pressure from the big corporations or whether that was just their own ideology. But all it was ever going to be was to allow the rich, the 1%, whatever you want to call them, free reign to start doing what's happening now, which is we've opened up this country to the whole world, which means we can bring all the cheap labor all the way over here, while at the same time use the excuse that, oh, well, the ordinary people, you're better than that now. You're going to go to university, so we can blow that up into another big bubble and claim that you're all educated and you're all going to work in the service sector and all this other shit, without actually bothering to think, in the long term, is this viable? And I think that's where a lot of the short-term political thinking started, which is, we only give a fuck about the next 5 years. We don't care whether about this will pay off in a generation's time. Sod that. I'll be retired. I'll be fucking wealthy. I probably won't even be here. I'll be living in the Cayman Islands or something. And that's
one thing I do love about Conscious Caracal, because he always says this amazing thing, and somebody else has also said it as well recently, but I still remember it from his own words, which is, a wise man will plant a tree that he will never sit under. And I love that. And I really do love that. I remember it all the time when he first told me. It was something that struck a chord with me, because it's true. If anybody wanted to talk about global warming or climate change or anything else like that, regardless of whether you think the science is correct or not, regardless of that, I personally do, but I know a lot of people don't. But that's fine. That's the choices that we make, and that's the evidence that we want to look at. But if we look at the way that we treat the world, and the way that we're cutting down trees at an extortionate rate, or the way that the plastics are all over the world at this moment in time, where they are literally blocking parts of the sea over. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a bleeding heart liberal. Most people fucking know that about me. I'm not. But at the same time, you look at the damage that we are doing, and then because people that are from a different perspective tell you what's going on, we naturally become defensive about it. I find that really repugnant in a conservative or somebody that's right-leaning. Just because it's somebody that had a political difference to you tells you something that might be factually correct, doesn't mean that you should knock them off because of their political ideology. We're better than that.
Well, that's ideology in a nutshell, isn't it? It's no different now than religious dogma, where, you know, somebody would say, maybe, just maybe, God did not create Adam and Eve and human beings exist through evolution. And it's
it's Adam and Steve now, mate.
No, it's in the scriptures, and that's the word of God, and that's all that matters. Doesn't matter if you've got science and evidence to prove it. It's all nonsense. It says so in this book. And it's exactly the same. It's like, you know, saying to a lefty that maybe open borders is not such a good thing, and then you get accused of all the buzzwords. And yet you can prove to them. I was
watching a live stream yesterday of somebody that I follow, and somebody called Owen MacDonald, MAC, and they were talking about borders. And Owen MacDonald, which is a staunch socialist to the point of he's an anarchist socialist, so basically he's a communist, was saying that he doesn't believe in borders because they're imaginary. And one of the arguments that I've always wanted to say to somebody that is that Pacific mind is that, okay, well, we're tribal people. You quite rightly yourself have the ideology of creating a small village or small type of city or whatever to create your idea of utopia or your idea of a civilization. The thing is with that is that the population will grow, which means that your borders from that city will grow, which means eventually you will interact with other cities. Now, if we take the idea of a city away, we can then classify those borders as a country and have those laws as separations. So when it comes to the point of the ideas of separating country from city and then having the idea of laws that come from the cities, why is it that you don't understand that they turn into countries? I've never understood that with people.
Yeah, it's the strange thing about anybody who thinks communism is a good idea is they must generally think or want the same thing that Mr. Quinn does, which is the annihilation of human beings to be replaced by machines, because it's the only way communism could ever work. It's basically the ideology of the hive mind. And unfortunately, it is completely counter to human behavior. Human beings are selfish. Human beings are individualist. And they will, as you said, they're very tribal. They will look after the tribe.
Yes.
And they will take on and defeat or lose to another tribe, depending on whether they're stronger and weaker than them. You cannot have, so long as there are human beings, living, breathing human beings who can think for themselves, utopia cannot and never will happen. Even one person left on their own wouldn't be utopia.
No. Because the thing is, with a utopian, your ideas have to spread. Because a utopia is not your utopia, it's what you want to see other people envisage and what you want to see other people be a part of. Because nobody believes in the utopia where it's just themselves. Because even if you have people that want to be on their own by an island and whatever, they still have servants or people that serve them, whatever way you want to put it. And love that about people, that even if we are so individualistic, so xenophobic, it's still the case of we want people around us because we don't like being alone. We like interaction. We desire interaction because that is part of our evolution, whether it be with a family setting or the idea of finding a partner. The fact is that when people say that they want to be on their own in a island or whatever, no, they don't. They want to form a family. They want to make a family. They want to make a society out of it with their ideas and their interpretation of it. Because that's what we are as humans. That's the reason why we have a messiah complex. Because, especially recently, we all think that our ideas are the best ideas, regardless of if they are or they aren't. But because we've had them and we have a confirmation bias towards ourselves, and I include myself in this as well, we think that we have the best ideas. When in actual fact, the best ideas are always debated, they are always challenged, and they always change.
Well, that's true. I wouldn't want to be talking to myself from 10 years ago. He still actually thought socialism was a good idea.
That didn't go well. Oh,
I know that's going to leave a bad taste in anybody's mouth.
there was no coke in that. Woohoo!
Well, you said you wanted to be merry.
Oh,
the next stage now, common sense, is directly into your veins, mate.
Oh.
Of course, you do know the most absorbent part of your body is actually your lower intestine. You were to pour that straight into your anus right now, it would be in your blood supply in no time.
Woohoo! The only problem with that is I don't even have suppositories when I'm ill or in pain, and I'm in pain a lot.
Oh, where's the fun in that, eh? Just think of, you know, nobody else on YouTube is doing that at this very moment. At least I don't think they probably are. Remember what I've always said about having a niche? Always making sure you're doing something nobody else is doing?
I'll give that a miss, mate.
Oh, fair enough.
I'll give that a miss, and I'll tell you what we'll do. As we are an hour in now, we might actually want to do what we said that we were going to do and talk about Brexit.
Well, funnily enough, is that talking about, as you were, about old Thatch and Reagan and their embrace of what was to become known as globalization. This is the pushback now. Brexit is the pushback. Trump is the pushback, and the unwashed French in their yellow jackets is the pushback. It's gone so far, and it's now been realized that, like a lot of things that are tried, it works to a point, and then the little people get pissed off. So now we're going backwards. The people want nationalism again. They want the country to look after itself first, which is, yes, we can import our coffee from Colombia, we can import our agriculture from France, and we can import our coal from South America, but no, we don't want that. We want to be able to do it here ourselves, so the people here will get paid to do it, and hopefully we'll get better wages and better prosperity. And I mean, whether you agree that could ever happen now, I don't know. In the same way, it's sort of like Trump hoping he can persuade Apple to make all their iPhones in America. It's when I talk to the older generations, when they say things like, because I say to them, house prices now are ridiculously out of kilter with people's wages, and they'll say, oh, but we had it really hard when I was your age.
Yeah.
And what I then have to explain to them is that what was expensive when you were young was the crap you put in your house.
Yes.
So things like your furniture, your telly, your fridge, whatever, that was all expensive because it used to be made here in the West.
Yeah.
So that's the reason it was more
Handmade most
expensive.
of the time.
Yeah, it was made by people who were paid Western wages, so the prices reflected that. But the price of the house you bought was a lot cheaper. It would have been maybe 2 to 3 times one earner's wage.
Yes.
So that's what's different. So yes, you can say it was difficult because it took longer to buy your furniture, but the actual building, the roof over your head, was cheaper, and that's the way it should be. Whereas now it's completely the opposite. The shit you put in your house is very cheap because it's all made by the Chinese for peanuts, but the actual house is now costing you, say, £750,000
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. I mean, when I wasn't disabled and I was working, which was around about 5 years ago, I, with my missus at the time, we had a look at being able to get into the housing property because we wanted to buy. We didn't want to rent because we didn't see the fucking point of it. Because if we're going to pay rent, which is a £300 to £400 a month, why not just pay the £500 a month and fucking buy it? But that's different, and different people do different things. But we had a look at the market. And with what I was earning at the time, which was a basic security salary, which was around 19 to 24 grand a year, depending on overtime and other bits and pieces and whatnot, I was able to get myself a mortgage of £115,000. So I could have got a 2 up, 2 down. Quite easy. Not necessarily been able to do any sort of refurbishment with it, but I would have been able to afford it. Now, with my missus that was also earning 13 grand a year on top because she was a cleaner, we were then able to get up to 125,000. Now, don't get me wrong, not an amazing amount, but still a 2 up, 2 down in a good-ish neighborhood or a new build. I don't understand where people will go, oh, but we wouldn't be able to afford it. But you're paying £400 to £500 a month on rent already. Why are you wasting your time on that?
I suppose it's when would this would have been? It's 5 years ago, so we're talking about 2013, 2014. Yeah, I think what everybody's.
I was drinking while you were eating. Sorry.
Oh, well, I would throw you one, but my shot is not that good.
I don't think it would reach.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to make a joke about me being a good tosser then, but
I don't need to. I don't need to. I think that made it itself by the fact that you're not a good shot.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I'm in my late 30s and I'm still not a dad, so I'm obviously a very bad shot. But
I think that has more to do with the soldiers than the shooting, but whatever.
Oh, really? I thought it was more the, you know, where they were landing. Obviously, I'm, you know, missing the...
Well, if you're shooting up the fucking arse, then you're not going to hit the fucking target ever, are you?
Hear that? He's saying I'm fucking you up the arse. Oh, she can't hear me.
Sorry, Mrs. Bollocks.
I'm glad you don't try and monetize your videos.
When he talks a lot of shit, I've got to try and fill it somehow.
Why do you invite me on these things? You're supposed to be taking it seriously. Dear.
This is the reason why I do invite you on. This is the reason why I normally do a B blows my Sunday, because I like to have a laugh on a Sunday. To quote Mr. Medica, it is a fun day.
It certainly is, especially now we've gone from house prices to anal sex.
Which is all your fault.
Yes. Well, I suppose you could do an analogy of the two, because you definitely get royally shafted up the shitter when you take on a mortgage these days. But I know on
the mortgage, but yes, generally you would do.
I know exactly what you mean, mate, in terms of it's much better to buy in the long term, because guess what? You actually then own it. Yes. And then you don't have to pay any more money after a certain point. It's wonderful. This is the problem, though.
Socialism.
Yeah, this is where I don't like socialism, no, because they're not getting my fucking house when my mortgage is paid off. But,
but you'll be fine. You'll be renting forever.
I know. I must give the government more money, mustn't I, so they can, you know, give it to more deserving people than me. You know,
that don't even live in the country. I mean, you know, general people.
Yeah. Oh, they will do soon. They'll be here very, very shortly.
They already are. They're using dinghies.
Are we allowed to say this, or are we going to get cut off for, you know, slowly spreading hate? I
I'm
better
quite
go.
lucky. My channel doesn't really get cut off too much. I don't think I'm big enough. So say the shit that you like. The dingy people are being dingies.
I was always hoping I could get a job at the Anti-Defamation League or maybe the
No,
Southern
you have to
Poverty
be
Law
Jewish.
Centre.
No, you
Do
have to
I?
be Jewish.
Do I?
Yeah. Oh
Oh.
no, sorry, that's the Southern Poverty Law Centre.
Why have
Sorry.
you got to be Jewish to be something that was originally sent up to help, help the South get over its level of poverty?
No, it wasn't. The Southern Poverty Law Centre was always about, and it's their mission statement, that it was to do about helping Jews not to be persecuted, and that is their mission statement.
So when they say the Southern, do they mean Israel?
You said that?
Well, to me, if it's based in America and it's called the South, I'm assuming they mean the South of America, which to me isn't necessarily the greatest hive of Jews. There's a lot of Goyams, but not many Jews.
It depends. I mean, if you were from the Middle East originally, as unfortunately the Jews are originally, then you're going to want to be on that sort of latitude.
Right. Okay. Now I'm completely lost. I automatically assumed by the name. I was actually taking them by their own name, the Southern Poverty Law
Oh, I'm
Society.
gonna have to. No, I don't want to do that. I'm gonna actually have to show online. I'm actually gonna have to show it. God. And my processor is at like 95% at the minute.
Okay, fair enough. I will take your word for it. It is just another way of accusing everybody of being a white supremacist. Actually, I like what Jay Willie's come up with. That's a much better idea. This Lawrence Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah,
I will poverty her center.
Yeah,
I mean his center. I will poverty his center.
I don't think Lauren Southern is particularly poor. And if she is, I can think of plenty of men who would happily give her lots of money. They certainly share her in it. And not necessarily cash.
No, that's true. That's definitely true. They've changed their definition.
They do tend to change their definition quite a lot, actually.
I suppose I better show people rather than me just going, because that makes so much more sense than me just doing that, doesn't it?
The thing is that what's our equivalent over here? I suppose things like hope not
Labour?
hate and all that crap.
Labour?
That's a very good one, yeah.
The Southern Poverty Law Centre is dedicated to fighting hate and bigotry and to seeking justice for the most vulnerable members of our society, using litigation, education, and other forms of advocacy. The SPLC works toward the day when the ideas of equal justice and equal opportunity will be a reality. Can I now
so
go
basically what they're saying is that we're doing everything we can to open the borders.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Why do they just call themselves communists like everybody knows that they actually are? Well, actually communists is the wrong way. They are full-on social cultural Marxists.
Interesting. The SPLC stands up for the powerless, the exploited, and other victims of discrimination and hate. For more than 4 decades, we've won landmark cases that brought systemic reforms in the Deep South. We've toppled remnants of Jim Crow segregation, even though it's been sorted since 1964. Not saying that racism has, but the Jim Crow segregation has been sorted since 1964. And destroyed the violent white supremacist groups. The KKK still live. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not massive, but they're still there. We've shattered barriers to equality for women, I think that has more to do with intersectional feminism on that one, and women's suffrage from the 1920s.
I'm quite curious as well about who their major benefactories are.
I don't want to look at donate because then that will take me to them. I don't want it. I just don't.
I suspect that a lot of billionaire philanthropists are probably their biggest donators.
Let's have a look at Friends of the Centre then, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Though this is supposed to be a Brexit stream.
Well, I don't think the Southern Poverty Law Centre probably supports Brexit very much.
I like it doesn't even tell me where the friends are. It's just like, your monthly donation, $25 to start off with. It's like, no.
Yes. Basically, do you hate your culture? Would you rather it be destroyed and then handed over to a load of technocrats who will basically run it like some kind of authoritarian regime that of likes you've never seen before? Then this is where you give your money. Yeah.
Oh, please do. Please do not give any money to the Southern Poverty Law Centre. Please don't.
No. Well, don't give your money to any NGOs, really, because even charities these days have very extremely dodgy activities. Like, I like the fact that it saved the children who were involved in the people trafficking between Libya and the Italian coast. Save the Children, which I assume Save the Children was always a charity that was helping children who were vulnerable in this country. Why are they now trafficking military-aged men from Africa into Europe?
No,
and again,
when
you start looking into their benefactors, it's when you begin to realize why these NGOs are becoming as corrupt as they are.
Well, I have more of a problem with the fact of when you have these fighting age men, and I'm sure everybody can remember this, that were coming across to Calais, and then from Calais they were being inspected, so to speak, by the UK authorities, and were being classified as children. And we saw pictures of these people that were classified as children, and most of them looked between the ages of 30 and probably 40. They were fit fighting men. None of them were really children. None of them were women. They're still not women. In actual fact, most of the people that are Iranian that are coming across on dinghies at this moment in time are men. They have young boys with them between the ages of 8 and 12, mostly. Now, don't get me wrong, fine, children. Maybe the child should be given asylum. I don't know, and I don't really care on that aspect. But if you were trying to start a family or trying to get to a safe port of country, why would you only take a child with you? Why are you not taking your child with you? And why are you not taking your wife with you, but you're taking another man with you? Seems a bit weird.
Yeah, it is a bit questionable.
Again, we've been on for an hour and 20 minutes, and we still haven't got past the first story yet.
It all ties back in, mate. It all ties back. We're talking about things of what our establishment are up to. Because as I tell anybody who doesn't understand, none of this would be happening if the 1% didn't want it to happen.
Agreed.
Do you really think the SPLC would be saying all this stuff if it's, the people who are funding it didn't want all this? They want white people to feel ashamed of themselves so they can just bring in loads and loads of cheap labor and voters, and you will be shamed into not saying anything about it. Or you'll even be indoctrinated into a Marxist ideology as a way of thinking that opposing it is racist or xenophobic and various other buzzwords. That's why I like the fact that the whole idea of cultural Marxism is to eventually bring in communism, and yet the corporations are actually using these idiots to further their own agenda. if these cultural Marxists generally think that these corporations who have all these policies at the moment, who are promoting people based on diversity quotas and all this other shit, are actually doing it because they generally embrace their ideology, they are very much mistaken. They do not want communism. They do not want their property and their money confiscated and, you know, handed over to the state. They are just merely using these idiots because at the moment they serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
If they ever got what they wanted, which was the idea of the EU worldwide, these people would probably be the very first people to be shot, to be to be disposed of, because they would be surplus to requirements unless they're going to, you know, basically be the laborers of the day. And labor is probably the wrong word, because normally labor implies that you get something back for your labor. Yeah, I think most of them are going to find themselves in unmarked graves, and that's what I find so hysterical about them. They just do not understand that the corporations do not work for them. They are working for their own end goals, and it ain't going to be pretty if they get what they want. I certainly wouldn't want to live in that world.
But you already are. Now get over it.
Oh, we're not there yet, mate. And we've got a lot of rioting still to come yet, and I can't wait to watch it.
We're British. We don't riot until the 12th hour. Sorry, the 11th.
Oh, I don't know. I generally, I mean, I still think we're going to get the no-deal Brexit, but part of me doesn't, so that we can see the rioting when it starts, because I'm more sure than I've ever have been for a long time of actual, I mean, proper riots, not the 2011, you know, Paul or something, Duggan got shot.
I'll just say it was David Lammy race baiting.
So a load of didn't do nothing suddenly, you know, found themselves short of furniture and needed to go late night shopping.
Yeah, mostly at Sports Direct.
So yeah, proper rioting, you know, with an actual purpose.
Yeah, shopping. That's the purpose.
Oh, in what case is the French at the moment then? Just you know, desperate for some deodorant and soap?
Well, most of them are actually breaking into banks at this moment in time, but most of it is to actually go against the government and that sort of stuff. But some people are breaking into banks.
I like it.
Yeah, it's all right. Right. So Lord Lily's 30 truths on leaving the EU under WTO terms are: 1. It will allow the UK to cash in, not crash out. The UK will not have to pay the 39 billion divorce bill, or the roughly, I think it's 410 million pound a week now, after reassessing all of the situation with the 39 billion as well. So, yeah, interesting. It avoids the corrosive uncertainty which the transition period would bring. Kind of agree with that. What about you?
I know what he's getting at, because we all know that the transition period is supposed to be time limited, but like everything the government says, it's always with only a hint of truth. It's just, I suppose what the Tories would be hoping is that during that transition period, they would be kicked out and Labour would be voted in, and then they would put a stop to it, because they don't give a shit.
Theresa May keeps on threatening anyway. If you don't vote for my deal, then Jeremy Corbyn will get in.
Yeah, Brexiter. Even though he can't admit that to his current middle-class lefty base, can he?
No. I've said this before on the stream. The reason why Jeremy Corbyn is a leaver is not because he doesn't believe in a socialised, a federalised government. It's because under the EU, he can't nationalise as much as he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason why Jeremy Corbyn is a leaver. That is it.
I think he loves the idea of all that centralised power, but he'd have it centralised himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is literally Comrade Corbyn. I am created equal, but I am also created more equal than you.
The scary thing is not so much Corbyn, because he's very much past his best, if there ever was a best. Probably when he probably his best was long gone when he dismounted Abbott back in the early 90s. But it's John McDonnell is the real scary one. He is the
kind of.
I think he has got eyes on Corbyn's job at some point, especially if the next election, whenever it may be, he fails to win that one. Because I don't think he's going to stay on if he loses 2 in a row. But yeah,
I don't know. It's Jeremy Corbyn. His sense of aggrandizement is worse than the rest of the US put together.
It is, but I think his followers are the more frightening ones. This is a religion.
Blinded by a bloody dogma and rhetoric. You have so many indications of how Jeremy Corbyn feels about specific groups of people, to where recently he blamed people in Milton Keynes for not voting a particular way and costing him the general election that happened obviously in 2016.
What do you mean, the general election where a lot of students were illegally voting twice? So places like Canterbury and what was the other one? Was it Cambridge? Went red when they'd never been red before, or not for decades.
A long time.
Yeah, and it was funny enough. They happened to be particularly university cities as well, and
the same ones that are going to be investigated by watchdogs that have never put out the reasons and why this stuff actually happened.
Well, exactly. I'm still wondering why. Where are we going to be 2 years on? Why the voting commission have not actually bothered to do a thorough investigation into that, and why there's been no prosecutions of these students getting away with it. I'd personally like to see every single one of them fine 5,000 quid, because if they think they've got problems with paying back money, they're going to have it even fucking worse.
Exactly.
And yeah, but I mean, considering we are supposed to be part of the first world, we're supposed to be the 5th largest economy in the world, and yet we've still got ridiculous vote irregularities like that. That is not only well known to just people like you and I; it's well known to everybody. And yet, you'd think that if the party in opposition had done that and were trying that but didn't make it to government, that the government that got in would then do everything in their power to investigate that, because then it's almost a way of ensuring that that party can't use that tactic in future to get in. It's almost like May called that election with the express intent of losing it and giving Brexit over to Labour, but failed to do it.
Conspiracy theorist. She would never have done that by putting all the pressure on all the old people and bringing back fox hunting, in which she knew that her base would never ever go from that.
Yes, the dementia tax, you mean?
Yes, and the death tax.
Yeah. It's it was a very, very strange election, that, because I don't think I've ever known one where it seemed obvious to me that one party was doing everything. Well, one leader of a political party was doing everything they can to lose it,
and the other was doing everything in his power to win it by promising the world, and yet the one that was promising the world lost, and the one that did everything to lose it technically won.
Yeah, I don't know. I still to this day can't quite figure that one out, but oh well.
Yeah. Well, the UK will be able to use administrative measures to save the Irish border without the need for a backstop. I would like to add a little bit onto that as well. Or ask the trading bloc or political unionship that wants a border there to provide a border for it. That's what I would put. You're the one who wants the border there. You provide the border. Simply put for me. What about you?
Well, as they've already said, it's a non-issue. The border isn't a problem. There doesn't need to be one. And just because we're dealing with the EU on WTO, we get to choose whether or not we're putting the tariffs on anyway. It's only up to a limit that you're allowed to charge other countries if you choose to.
Yeah, 47% is the highest it is, and most of our European tariffs are around about 32 to 36%.
Yeah. And they already know with the modern technology we've got, you don't need anybody on the border anyway. We'll be able to monitor anybody who comes in and leaves. And to be honest, if it really was a problem, it would have happened by now anyway.
Mm.
I know what they're trying to make out is that, oh, you know,
Good Friday Agreement.
the Good Friday Agreement's all going to be in tatters, and the loyalists and the Republicans are going to be at each other's throat again. It's not going to make any bit of fucking difference. Too many.
On that note, very quickly. If you notice, the Brexiteers, the one that want to have a form of a political union or a form of a deal, are the ones that are trying to provide, I think wrongly, are trying to provide the idea of some sort of a border or some sort of acquiescence of what's going on, or some sort of parleyship of what's going on, where the people that are Remainers or the people that are from the European Union are the ones that are threatening forms of terrorism to stop a country from what it elected its membership to do from doing. I wonder which one is the terrorist group and which one is the democratically elected, I don't know, parliament.
Well, that's what I was sort of going to say, is that a lot of the hardcore sides of both don't really have any influence anymore. Even Jerry Adams really is now a relic of that era and doesn't really wield the influence he once did.
You leave my mate Jerry alone.
And a lot of them, especially the modern ones, are very comfortable with the situation they've got. You know, you've got the devolved parliament in Northern Ireland. They're all doing very nicely out of it. They don't really need the troubles to flare up again. It could put their their current lifestyle in jeopardy.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's all it ever was just what excuses can we come up with to, you know, derail the supposed negotiations now. There is nothing is really going to change on that border. Nothing at all.
No, I completely not agree. But the point that I was trying to make was there is one group, which is the European Union, and the Remainers that are part of that European Union, that are either being paid or are saying that if the border is going to be an issue, which for them it is, then they're not the ones that need to find the issue or find a solution for the border that they so require or need, but the other people that don't require a border need to sort out the idea of a border because you're the one leaving the political union. Not the ones that need the border, but the ones that don't want one need to sort it. I've never understood that.
Well, it's funny how they can find these problems when they need to, isn't it?
Well, very much so, but it's amazing to me that people that are the Brexiteers would never say, or have not said, rather, that people that want a border should be the ones that sort the border. And the ones that don't want the border should be the ones to leave the decision of the border to the people that want it. In other words, shifting the blame or shifting responsibility, if you will, back to the people that are pushing for a border to scupper the Brexit negotiations and deal.
Yep.
So, after resolving the Irish border, which I think we just did, the UK as a whole will be able to enter a Canada plus style free trade deal, such as one suggested by Donald Tusk, or David Davis, or by Mr. What's his name? The blonde-haired ferret. Oh, Johnson, the one that said that when he was actually pushing for Brexit before he won. Not Donald Tusk, but you know, the actual people that actually pushed that, they're the ones that have always said that they wanted a Canada-style deal with extras on it.
If they're just talking about free trade agreement with whoever we want, and that's all. I thought that was the whole point of Brexit.
Yes.
So anybody who ever claims that doing this deal of us staying in the custom union, and especially the single market, never happened. That is the specific rules of the European Union. which is if you're a member of any of their what they called. Is it 4 or 5 rules? I can never remember. It's freedom of trade, people,
I think
goods
it's
and
free.
services.
I think it's free. It's freedom of trade, free movement of people, and following the European laws and jurisdiction.
Yeah, once you're a part of that you have no ability to make trade deals with any other country, because it's up to the European Commission to do the actual trade deals for you.
Yes.
And in the what are we now, about 27 years of existence, they still haven't managed a free trade agreement with America. Obviously, they could argue that that's what they were trying to do with TTIP, but it wasn't. It was allowing American firms to come over and operate within the European Union using American laws and what's it called? Laws and regulations, which obviously would have put us at a massive disadvantage. Oh, and of course, if they want to say apply for a tender for any European
Tinder.
Well, not that kind of no tender, not Tinder. I mean, they could apply for Tinder if they want to, if it came up for came up on offer.
Hey, nothing comes up for me when I use Tinder.
Oh, you're looking at the wrong part of Tinder, are you? Common sense.
No, I thought I was saying Grinder. Never mind.
I think you need to drink a bit more. A lot of truths are coming out now.
Hey, everything's fun and games until somebody gets hurt. Just don't push too hard.
Are you sure when Mrs. Common Sense came in earlier on, it wasn't her tits and testicles she was dangling?
Oh, no. I definitely wouldn't have a trans person. It's either one or the other.
Oh, okay. He doesn't mind, yeah, as long as as long as they don't dangle lower than his own.
Yeah, as long as you are who you are, rather than trying to pretend you're something you're not.
Yeah, he told him straight, which is, if those are dangling, then you're a bloke.
Yes. I don't know what is dangling, if it's your tits or your balls, but if they're dangling, you're a bloke.
Well, let's put it this way. If her tits are dangling below her kneecaps, then I would actually class them as testicles, and she would be, she would be binned anyway.
Fair enough. I like wrapping around my neck.
I suppose when you throw them over your back like a rucksack, you got a problem.
Hey, they're very heavy. It's a good workout.
But yes, the European Union's not very good at signing trade agreements with other countries. So,
did I just outsick you?
Did you just what?
Did I just outsick you or outdark you?
No, I was trying to do you the favor. You're the one who kept trying to bring it back on topic.
World Trade Organization is a safe haven, apparently, not a hard option. Hard. 6 of the EU's top trading partners trade under WTO rules. Same as 70 to 80% of the world does. That's really amazing to me that people always go, oh, you don't want to trade with the European Union. No, I do. But even if we didn't, there's a big world out there.
Yep.
I might want to trade with Uganda about having some oranges and bananas. But, I can't do that while I'm under the European legislation and rules.
Yes. And several military-age men who paint themselves orange and yellow does not pass as actual fruit.
Hey, leave Donald Trump out of this.
What's he doing in Uganda trying to illegally smuggle himself into the UK?
I don't know. The left call him a war criminal. I thought he was a war criminal.
He's a war criminal.
Apparently.
Really? He's dropped a couple of bombs on Syria thus far. That's a very strange
one. He's got ties with Saudi Arabia, and he's got ties with Russia. He's depending on what leftist you speak to, he's a war criminal.
I've got fucking ties from Savile Row. That doesn't make me a war criminal.
No, that makes you what's the name of that film? A Kingsman.
Hey, that's fine by me. That's the kind of spy I probably would end up being.
Manis maketh the man. UK exports to countries trading on WTO terms have grown 3 times faster than to the single market, which is actually correct. In actual fact, I believe it's 10 to 18% quicker than the single market.
Well, that's not surprising considering how much of the EU 28 are actually in serious financial shit.
Well, you leave Greece out of this.
Oh, I'm not just picking on Greece, I'm picking on a few of them. What do they call them?
Leave Spain and Portugal out of this. The one, especially the one country that decided to legalize all drugs, and then wonder why over 40% of their youth now don't work.
I was thinking more of the full pigs, as they call them.
I will let you continue that because I'm not a racist.
That's Portugal, Ireland. Who's the other eye? There's two. There's definitely two. Oh, Italy, of course. Yeah, Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain. Yes. In other words, all these countries are fucked.
Well, to be fair, so's Romania. Romania's not doing too well, especially with all the what do you call it?
I'm not surprised all their fucking beggars are over here.
Well, not just that. It's the fact that the European Union have completely put so many sanctions on Romania, Hungary, and countries that have actually shown a right-wing response, or what you would call a populist response or racist response, depending on how far fucking left you are, about how their countries have legally voted to change different aspects of what's going on, and yet because they're part of a political union that they disagree with, now that political union they're a part of is sanctioning them for having a disagreement, but yet that's democracy?
Yep. Same thing they're doing to the Polish as well, isn't it? Because they refused to take any of the was it 1.5 million that they imported over in 2015? So they're desperately trying to.
About Poland and Hungary and also Romania. No terrorist attacks. Surprising how that works.
Yeah, no pillars of peace either.
Hasn't got up in either of those countries either.
Nope. No concrete barriers. No truck attacks. No acid attacks. No moped muggings. And like you said, no mass rapes either. It's a bit of a funny pattern there.
Mass rape. I feel like that should be part of the culture.
Yeah. They obviously don't sell enough weapons to the Middle East. That's where they've been going wrong.
Oh my God. I was talking to a particular leftist yesterday. I won't put his name out, but if he's watching, you know who you are. And it's to do with the fact that Donald Trump is so corrupt that he trades with Saudi Arabia, and he didn't make any sort of fast about what happened with the unfortunate thing that happened with the journalist that definitely got beheaded and cut into pieces by Saudi Arabia. And we're pretty much sure about that. But yet, because nobody has said anything, Donald Trump himself is the one that knew that this was going to happen and has specific trade deals with these people, and therefore he should be solely impeached in the world, even though most of the world trades with Saudi Arabia for reasons. Don't get me wrong, I completely and utterly dislike this. This is one thing that I am definitely a leftist on. I think that we should bomb the shit out of Saudi Arabia and actually get rid of the royal family, so to speak, over there. But that's my opinion, and it's not a call to arms or anything. It's just my opinion of how I think that should be rectified. But yeah, I don't think that we should classify Donald Trump or others that have dealt with them as political people that need to be impeached or sanctioned or incarcerated because of. Unfortunately, sometimes to make a country work, you have to get in bed with somebody you don't like.
Would he have been saying the same shit if Hillary had won, considering the amount of money the House of Saud gave Hillary's campaign?
He would say something along the lines of which he did do, prove it. They were allegations. Yeah, I know there's actually a money trail as well as the uranium coming from Russia, which in actual fact the Hillary Clinton and her foundation with Bill actually had more collusion by the definition of the word collusion than Donald Trump ever has done.
Yeah, I think it might be easier to prove the latter than the former.
I agree.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Again, it goes back to the Adam and Eve were the first human beings. We did not evolve from apes. It's the same argument, isn't it? You
Yes.
present them with facts and information, and because they believe it so wholeheartedly that I never thought that you could actually turn ideology into religion, but they've managed it. So
Well,
fair
I
play
think
to them.
it's even worse than that. I was saying this to two plebs yesterday on the stream that I did Saturday yesterday, which was I don't think that they turn it into a religion. I do think it's turned into a form of occultism or a form of that sort of aspect of religiosity. But I think it's more turned into an ideology. It's turned into their identity. And because it's turned into their identity and it defines who they are, that when you talk to these people that have these ideas and belief systems, you're not trying to change their beliefs, you're trying to change their identity. And that's when people will lose their shit and start calling you a racist xenophobe because they're not trying to do it necessarily because they think you are. They're doing it to defend their points of view and their life and worldview.
Exactly the same way a child would.
Yes. I mean, no, I'm not. I don't think that. I need more
Sure?
alcohol.
This is the whole problem again of how they're raised. We've talked about this before, that one of the most important things you need to learn as a child is to accept failure and
Yes.
to accept that maybe, just maybe, you aren't going to be anything special. You're going to be just another average person with an average life who just has an average existence and then dies an average person. And, participation awards, being told that you're all special, you're all wonderful, there's nothing you can't do, women can have it all and all this.
Yep.
No, it doesn't. That's not the real world. Life is horrible and the world is cruel. And the sooner you get that into your head, the easier life actually turns out to be. And that's the trouble, is these, especially, that's why it's always predominantly middle or upper middle class kids who join Antifa and become, far lefties, because they don't know what hardship is. They don't know what it's like to be working class. They don't know what it's like to really be oppressed. They don't even know what the fucking word means, let alone knows what it's like to be it. They think that if you're white, you're automatically like them. They can't believe that the average white person is not wealthy and has a crap life.
Yeah.
And then, in
I
terms of
now
threat,
definitely
anyway.
need more alcohol. Thanks, Magic. Thanks a lot, you bastard.
Oh, sorry, mate. I can put you on the let's go into cloud cuckoo land where everything's actually wonderful. We've actually reached utopia.
Something like that, yeah. Just to let everybody know that's come on to the stream, this is a birthday stream, so to speak, because I'm political and I'm with a friend. So please buy me a drink. I will link everything into the description box below. But here is my PayPal into the chat. Buy me a drink if you so choose to, and if you can, obviously. But cheers. And now I'm going to drink more.
Yeah, not that he'd want to make it a point, but yeah.
Hey, I'll make everything a point. Just don't point it out.
Yeah, it's his birthday. Wrap up a nice donation in a bow.
Please.
Yeah, a big bow.
It might actually help me. I can't even fucking get to where I want to go now. This is how good the drink is getting me at this minute in time. Yeah, please help me, because at this moment in time, I actually need to fix my fucking computer because my fan has broken. And at this moment in time, my processor is actually running at around 90%, 100%. I will actually show you because you'll be able to see what my screen is. Let's see if it's actually. Well, it's running at 96%.
It's warm, is what he's saying. He doesn't have to switch the heating on at the moment. He just turns his laptop on.
Yeah, I'm a little bit warm at the minute. I think I'm dripping, though that could be due to something else. Hi, Magic.
That's exactly the conversation we had before we came on.
Woohoo, dripping. I mean, yeah. computer.
Yeah. You're just making things worse now.
Can I give somebody my shovel? So EU tariffs on exports from the UK would amount to less than half of the UK's current net contribution to the EU budget. I don't really care about that. I really don't care about what tariffs amount to anything that goes to the EU budget. I don't care.
I mean, I'd like to think as well that what the VAT that the UK currently charges, I'm sure a percentage,
50% at the minute.
Yeah, normally a very healthy percentage actually has to go towards the EU Parliament, doesn't it? So, and Brown's famous speech when he dropped VAT down to 15% in the aftermath of the credit crunch. You know,
that wasn't caused by Labour or actually by Gordon. Well, actually, no, sorry. Actually caused by Tony Blair because he actually admitted that he changed the laws so the bankers could do that.
Well, this was the thing when it was dropped, and this was what 2008 or 9. I can't remember. No, it was 2009 because, of course, it was just before the election. Funnily enough, It was dropped for 1 year to help stimulate the economy. Supposedly, he said that I can't lower it any lower than 15%.
Gordon Brown was going to stimulate anything. Gordon Brown couldn't stimulate his wife into having sex with him.
Oh, I think they finally managed to produce offspring, didn't they? I don't know whether or not
they didn't produce it through sex.
This is a whole conversation for another day. This is like a conspiracy that Gordon Brown and his wife have never actually consummated their relationship.
Well, let's be honest. Who the fuck would want to sleep with Gordon Brown?
You could say that about 99% of most politicians. They're all ugly bastards.
I don't know. I mean, I would have Mog.
You would have Mog?
Yeah.
Okay. You would have Mog. In that case, then I raise you Anne Widdecombe.
To be fair, there's nothing wrong with Anne Widdecombe.
Really?
I will raise you. I will raise you an Amber Rudd.
Oh, fucking hell! It's not even close to how much you've drunk yet.
No, not yet.
That's not even the worst. We get into things like people like that Claire Short with the world's closest to the ground arse, or actually, I know one that'll probably finish you off. I'm going to raise you, and I don't know how anybody could raise it, a Diane Abbott.
Oh, I can raise you. An Emily Thornberry.
What, pre or post diet? The one where she now looks like a dried up prune.
Yes, obviously. The way that she looks now.
Yeah, do you realize that's actually not her real? That's her pre-marriage name. She's actually Lady Nudgy, isn't she?
Okay, then let me take away Emily Thornberry and let me give you Edwina Curry.
Well, I don't know about that. I told John Major thought it was worth a poke, didn't he?
Yeah, but John Major also thought that it wasn't worth telling the electorate that he was going into the treaty.
Yeah, both were quite embarrassing, weren't they?
Well, I don't know. I think she could actually understand the humanistic need for, lying to the general populace.
Well, I think we've been doing the European Parliament too much, so I'm going to invite the Americans in now to gross them out as much as we've been trying. I raise you Maxine Waters.
Well, I'm just going to go with an Emily Pelosi.
We did this on the Red Eye a few weeks ago, where I actually brought up a picture of Pelosi in underwear.
Oh, lovely. Would have loved to.
And Mad Dodge threatened to ban me for bringing up these photographs. I was very offended.
You mean a libertarian was going to ban you from a platform?
What it was, I think it just stimulated him a bit too much.
Yeah, well, you should stop worrying about his little twinges and actually carry on doing what he's supposed to.
Every man's got a price, and I'm sure Mad Dodge probably would find it difficult to turn down 6 figures for just one night with Pelosi.
I'd do it.
Well, I know you do it, and you probably do it for about a quarter of that.
Half.
No, I think there's an element of fun in there for your own self, isn't there? idea
Well,
of you.
I would like it to say, "Fuck me, conservative. Fuck me harder."
You'd have saying like, go on, go on. I'm going to film you with my phone now. Say, close the border, build the wall, build the wall. Go on, say it.
Block the border. Block the border. Let you immigrants in.
Oh, dear. All right. I'm going to raise you another one. What's her name? Alexandra Halfwit Cortez. She can dance. We know that.
I will raise you a Warren. And
oh, that's fine. I've always wanted to bang a Native American,
but she's not. You're more Native American than she is.
One was it 1/1024 or something?
1060 something, as far as I remember.
It's a percentage, mate. It's a percentage. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, I'd much rather just fuck a Native American. Anyway, your turn on the fucking Trumps.
What? Which are we just going down the most appalling female politicians we can think of?
Might as well.
Oh, in that case, then you're having Jess Phillips.
In that case, then you're having Merkel.
Hey, at least I won't be able to understand the fucking word she's saying. You will have to listen.
You will be put into prison, and you will have BDSM.
You will have to listen to Jess Phillips go on and on about how you're oppressing her with every thrust.
You do realize that instead of fucking her, I can just fill her mouth.
No, she won't have that. She won't have that.
Will do.
The size of her fucking mouth, mate, it won't even make a difference.
You're turning me into such a bad person. How do you always manage to do this? But then again, normally when I have you on, I am normally drinking. So I don't know if it's you or whether it's the alcohol. Or is it both?
I think we've pretty much ruined any chance either of us ever had of a political career.
Not just yet.
We've just basically trashed most of the female politicians, saying that we wouldn't. Well, hey, I said I wouldn't. You've already said you do most of them.
I actually started off with a male. I'm inclusive.
Oh, of course. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you say you do Mog, which was a very strange choice right from the start.
I would just like to know how he arrives.
What? Quite successfully, considering he's got 6 kids.
Definitely better aim than your soldiers.
Hey, maybe I've been deliberately missing, mate. You know, I've been like the treacherous sniper.
I did say that you were picking the wrong hole.
Yeah, but you made it sound like I was deliberately aiming in the wrong direction, and I was not.
But you just said that you were a sniper, so
I know, but you're trying to make out that I was deliberately aiming at the wrong body. No. I was aiming at the right person, but I was just deliberately shooting above their head.
That has so many connotations. Anyway, the UK is already a WTO member, so would not need to rejoin it. In other words, saying that we actually are a WTO member and we don't need to negotiate a deal with WTO.
That's true. Yeah, we can just leave and we will automatically be dealing with it. Yes.
Yep. We can start to trade on the new tariff schedules as soon as... I'm so surprised that I can read still. Without waiting for agreement from other WTO members.
Yep, that's the whole point of being a member of the WTO. You can trade with whoever you want.
This is not me making a list. Stop being snarky, you little bitch. The UK is making good progress in replicating the EU's most important preferential trade arrangements. Switzerland has already agreed to carry over existing preferences. I'm actually really surprised at how I'm reading at this minute in time. I'm actually reading.
You're actually reading very well. Yeah.
I'm actually reading better than when I'm sober. I mean, I have actually got through a half of my Jim Beam, so I'm not doing too bad.
It's what you've come up with here is a great way of making sure that under 10s learn to read efficiently. Copious amounts of alcohol.
It does help. The English are obviously better at reading when they're drunk.
Yep. They're also better human beings normally when they're drunk.
We do tend to love more, as
We-
evident by the fact that both of us suggested that we would fuck Diane Abbott.
I did not suggest for one moment that I would even contemplate that. That is
Oh,
like
you said that
trying.
you would. You said that you would go for what's her fucking name? Waters.
No, I didn't say that. I raised you a Maxine Waters.
Oh,
I mean
fine.
that.
You accepted the fucking Pelosi.
Oh no, I was accepting that on Mad Dodger's behalf.
No, you accepted it for you because you found out some nice underwear footage.
Not footage, just a photograph. I mean, it's possible it could have been doctored, but it looked quite authentic to me.
Well, I will then look at the picture that you had and see if there is any stainage to prove if you liked it or not.
No, it's digital, so there's no. I can't do digital spunk yet.
Well, in that case, then I will look at the computer. Oh no, never mind.
Oh, I get it. You want a sample of all my socks now to see if there's any evidence at all.
Why use socks? Just use a condom.
Oh, fucking hell. Look at the old posh man here. Eh? I can afford a Johnny when I want to wank.
I'm having a posh one. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And by the way, just on that note, as it is my birthday. It is my birthday. All that good shit. Please, can everybody help me get even more fucked than what I am? And buy me a drink.
Yeah.
If you can. Please do.
Yeah. Somebody send him a quid. He needs to pop to the gents. So we can,
I don't need to pop to the gents. I will just pop. Wait, that's bad.
Yeah, that's called cottager, you're thinking of the wrong thing there, common sense.
I do like cottage pie.
Do you?
Yes.
Do you? Do you also like a glory hole too?
No, I do. I like a shepherd's or a cottage pie. I prefer the shepherds because normally they know how to use. I can't remember what their actual pole's called, or the one that they walk with.
You're the only man who would go to one of them cubicles with a pot of polyfiller and think, well, that hole's far too big. I'm getting rid of that.
It depends. I don't want any man finishing me off. It has to be one I know.
Oh, okay. Did you ever hear that story? And I'm assuming it was made up, but like all these things could be true. Where the young man who's discovering his sexuality goes out to a cottage one day, and he sits in the cubicle and he waits, and eventually a penis finds its way into the hole. So he starts.
Is that the ear or the hole that's on the side?
I don't really care. It's not that relevant to the story. I just know that suddenly he had access to a penis but could not see its owner. So, proceeded to pleasure it, to then leave the cubicle at the same time as the other person, to then realize that the other person was actually his father.
Oh, yeah. I've known that people that have used glory holes before have been brother and sisters. And they've actually sued the glory hole owners for that reason. So I've known that that's happened before. I am not a member, and I have never sued anybody. I would just accept it. Once it's done, it's done.
The thing is, like a lot of these urban myths, it almost like finishes too early, because what then happened? Something, did they just refuse to talk to each other ever again, or did it just, was it the beginning of something beautiful?
Well, it kind of depends. If they both enjoyed it, then they're family. They're going to sort it out.
Yeah, the thought of he just swallowed several million brothers and sisters,
or he just swallowed a good, healthy vitamin C.
Vitamin C. What have you been reading?
There's vitamin C in. No, is it vitamin C? Yeah, it's vitamin C. Yeah.
Do they advertise that on orange juice cartons these days? It contains vitamin C, the very vitamin found in spunk.
Yes. And I will use it. I'm not sure I should, but I will.
Yeah, I don't think that one's going to be appearing anytime soon.
Well, just think about it. If people give me more money so I can buy more alcohol.
You ain't giving up, are you? You're not going to give up until some fucker actually puts their hand in their pocket.
Please, I really need help. Like, literally, I showed you my computer's on 95% of using a processor because the fucking fan doesn't work.
Yeah. What he's effectively saying, he's got 12 people watching at the moment, and you're all a bunch of tightwads. So, you know, time to cough up.
I'm not saying that. I love my audience. And I will be loose with my audience if they're loose with me.
He certainly will. He'll be even looser with your money when he's flaunting it tomorrow.
Well, I don't know about flaunting it. I've got my laptop fixed. I can actually do videos again. What do you want me to do? No, I'm not going to strip, B. I'm not going to strip.
Oh, she's here, is she? Why isn't she actually on here with us?
I wanted to talk about Brexit.
I know, but she has such a interesting take on existence anyway.
Oh, okay, I will send her a link.
Yes. Especially now that we've gotten to the subject of vitamin C having spunk having as much vitamin C as orange juice.
You could have more.
Yeah. Tell me, B, do you get plenty of vitamin C all over your tits?
I'm so glad that this actually is a vitamin C advert. I did well. I did well with that form of language.
You brought it up. I was unaware of this supposed fact.
I did not bring it up. I swallowed it.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you didn't spit it up. You was a good boy. Got rid of it correctly.
I'm always a good boy. I never spit. Ha! I need more alcohol. Everybody.
I really, really, really hope that somebody finds this in the next couple of days thinking, oh, good, serious political debate.
I'm really sorry to all of my subscribers that normally think that I am a political genius, but this is me. I'm just a drunken ass. I am the man Dodge of the UK.
Yes. I think you've got quite a number of kids to go yet, mate, to catch him up.
Hey, I didn't say I was going to fucking fill it. I just said I was a drunken ass. Didn't say that I was stupid.
Oh, no. The thing is with Mad Dodge, he's not drunk. Well, at least not in the normal sense anyway, because the idea of being drunk, you're drunk after you've consumed alcohol. He is just permanently pissed now.
Hey, be careful. He's in the trap.
I know. That's why I'm saying it. Hello, Mad Dodge, you alcoholic
sexy man. You sexy man, avatar person, you.
No, it's fine. What did we say? We said people are always at their best when they're pissed. So Mad Dodge is always running at full capacity.
No, we said that people could English people could read when they're drunk. Is what we said.
Okay.
I am definitely not at my full capacity. Look at my hair. I didn't even brush it.
I know. I think what you should do to save a bit of money is actually just take it all off now.
I will if people donate.
Oh, no, no, no.
I think that we actually have somebody that has joined the stream.
No, did, but unfortunately she's dropped out again.
She's not ready for this shit.
I know. I got a feeling she was going to show us some vitamin C.
I did just send a link to everybody to join the hangout, so fuck it. If people want to join, well, fuck it. Who gives a shit?
Everybody jump in. Everybody jump in. Yeah.
Just remember that once I go to find my PayPal link, what I actually meant to do.
Why don't you just tattoo it onto your forehead with a big fucking arrow pointing at it?
Because you can't. That's not what I wanted. That's a YouTube fucking link. Nobody wants a YouTube link.
Oh no, she's finally arrived.
Oh, has she?
Yes.
That's not good. Nobody wants that.
No, she hasn't finished that. No, she's. I don't mean she's had her daily dose of vitamin C.
Hi there. We kind of heard you spurge out for a second. How are you doing, B?
Lurge out for a second. Yeah, I've been busy doing other stuff on YouTube and had to sign back into my account.
Do you know, before we carry on with stuff, I've just realised that you have a sore throat. And as we were talking about vitamin C, how are you doing?
That's not funny.
Because it's true.
If it's not funny, why are you laughing? Yeah, I think you're right.
I just made her happy. I'm sure that's what that was.
Yeah, this is happiness.
You didn't have to turn up.
Of course I had to turn up. You summoned me.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah, she's like a genie. You just rub her enough times and suddenly she comes.
Oh, no. You've got to do it the proper way of actually saying it. You've got to rub her the right way.
Oh, okay. I personally like rubbing her the wrong way.
I noticed.
Yeah.
By the way, if anybody else wants to join in, then please do. I don't really think that we're going to get on with the situation that I wanted to get on with today. I will do a video about it instead.
What is the situation? I mean, it is your birthday, and happy birthday, by the way.
Yay! I'm drinking. I'm not allowed to drink, by the way, which is probably the reason why I've got drunk so quickly.
How much have you had? And your hair is getting messier and messier.
About that much.
Okay, you're going to have to lift the bottle up a little bit. I can only see the top. Oh my God, you've had half a bottle.
Yeah, that's about it. Normally I would have finished it by now.
And you missed the beginning where he actually drunk some directly into his anus. So it absorbed very quickly.
I don't take suppositories.
You know, you said that, but you can't remember it now. It was very entertaining.
You remember it. That's why I'm talking to you about it.
No, you can't. I remember seeing it. I saw it.
You didn't see it. Look it back. Look it back. There's English there somewhere.
Do you know what? It's sometimes you just, if you want something to happen, you just will it enough. And I'm hoping I can give enough will that it actually really did happen. Common sense came on. Hello, everybody. Watch this. Glug, 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 glug. Ah, I'm pissed.
That's the reason why I like vitamin C. Glug, 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 glug.
What the fuck is going on?
Oh, do you know what? I didn't think I could make this stream any more disgusting than what you normally would be, but we've managed it, so.
I'm so proud.
I know, I'm not. I feel disgusting.
You both did nothing. You both did nothing. It is this person's fault. It is Jim Bean's fault.
Oh, I see. Oh, common sense is momentarily becoming SJW. It's somebody else's fault. Oh, I like that.
I'm drunk. I'm allowed to say it's somebody else's fault.
I think you should do more drunk streams.
I should not do more drunk streams. I'm a political YouTuber, goddammit, and I'm sensible.
Okay, you're now a drunk. You need to drink more.
Oh, that means I'm mad dodge. I need to get rid of
mad dodge.
You're gonna keep dragging that poor fucker kicking and screaming into this stream thus far, isn't it?
Oh, I'm trying to get him into it, but he just won't fucking join.
Well, I think what he should do, because you brought him up so many times, something like free advertising, I think he should actually now make a donation.
Really? I mean, let's just leave the drunken points to myself in my head.
No, you've mentioned him so many times. I generally think it's advertising now.
Maybe.
Although you've actually mentioned PayPal so many times, they should be sponsoring your channel now.
No, I just want money.
That's his Mad Dodge. Do you have a crush on Mad Dodge, CSG?
Not as much as I do on Jim Bean.
Okay, you hesitated way too much there for my liking.
I literally answered as you asked.
No, there was a pause, wasn't there, Magic?
There was a decisive moment there, wasn't there? Which is of uncertainty.
There was no uncertainty.
I don't know.
There was no uncertainty. There is one thing that I am certain of, and that is me and Jim Bean. Do
you know what? I think what we should do, we've got Tonka and Worski having a fight on the 19th. I think what we should do is maybe February or March, we should have a mud wrestle between you and Mad Dodge.
I mean it in a nice way. I like Mad Dodge, and I'm a bit bigger.
Oh,
than
no,
him.
no, 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 not a mud wrestle. It's very, very friendly, isn't it? It's
No,
normally...
I know it's friendly. I know it's friendly, and we could get on to touching and enjoying each other's company, and you know, where the mud touches, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yes, you could talk, you could discuss, you could swap vitamin C. Yeah.
No vitamin C. That adds white to the mud, and it's not a mud wrestle.
All right, then cream wrestle then.
Yay, friend.
Yeah. Again, that could be taken out of context very easily.
We are friends. We are allowed to help each other.
Good. Okay. I got a feeling this will be coming up in conversation later on.
I've got a feeling that this stream is going to be held against me for the rest of my career. For whatever way it goes, whether it goes up, down, left, right, or whatever, it's a case of this will be remembered forever.
Oh, damn you, Mad Dodge. Come on. There's nothing wrong with a friendly mud wrestle. Hey?
Well, to be fair, I will end up sitting on him. And you can take that any which way that you want to.
Face and tell me that you love me. I'll sit on yours and tell you I love you.
Oh, God.
I don't know whether to be happy that you did that or whether to be kind of sick.
I know.
You should just be grateful.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the former as well. I think
Not every day she breaks out the the screaming cat for anybody. She actually just wanted to point out that she's picturing in her head now this sort of like homoerotic wrestle between you and Mad Dodge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's better than the homoerotic pizza fucking bathing that me and Bloody B have.
Yes.
Hang on, I'm not aware of this. You're going to have to explain the rules.
Just baby, go ahead.
It's CSG naked in his hot bubble bath eating pizza.
Yep.
What floating on the water?
No, I'm eating the pizza, not fucking drink it like having it on my lap or something. I'm eating it.
Oh, no. You can't do that. You're going to get your fingers all dirty. You want to keep them nice and, grease-free.
Well, just ask B what she wants me to do, why I'm doing that.
Oh, of course I want you to suck my toes.
Hey, and then, do I need more alcohol? I don't know if I need more alcohol for this.
Wait a minute. For a minute, I thought this was actually, quite interesting, and it just turned out to be just grotesque. I mean, you're always going to bring manky old cheesy feet into it.
Hey, I'm eating pizza. What else would I be eating?
Well, I don't know. If she's trying to slip you too much cheese, God knows where that's coming from.
Well, at this point in time, it's just her feet. But, I'm willing to explore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cheese is not normally... I
kind of faltered there while you were speaking. Oh, okay.
No, it's just cheese is not something I normally associate with the female anatomy unless they are in the process of changing their sex.
I just got what's his fucking name from Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, the changing song.
I don't think that's what he originally. That's not what he originally meant.
I'm sure it's not.
I'm pretty certain it would definitely had nothing to do with that. But now you're forever gonna be thinking that whenever you hear it. I'm
going through changes.
Well, I think you definitely would be if you were in a bubble bath trying to eat pizza that's floating on the water while she's trying to stick her, I'm assuming, toe in your mouth or some other orifice.
It's not going anywhere else. I can't eat.
But how can you eat the pizza if you're also getting a mouthful of toe as well?
Have you seen how fat I am? I can fit it in.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of her potential fungal nail infection and, the sort of ingrowing toenail that's got at least several thousand maggots living in it.
Toenails? How do you think she cleans her toenails? Do you think that she does it the normal way where you have a bath, or do you think that she has me help her?
No, definitely. I think that it's probably the one part of her body she neglects the most.
Oh, no.
We
No,
know that she visits.
No. She doesn't neglect her feet. She loves her feet being touched.
No, I know that she's got a thing for going round to some JCB shop around the corner for where she lives to have some kind of makeover. They like they like to fit new bits to her, like a new dump trucker and maybe a large rear end.
But even I wouldn't say that to be. You're an ass.
Got that from Jensen.
That's her own fault for telling me too much information.
I'm not saying nothing.
Well, you started a movie a half an hour before it's going to the beauticians.
Yes, I find that
your fault for leaving. This is your fault for leaving too early, not anybody else's.
She had the mistake of telling me what she was leaving for, which was going to. Well, she claimed it was a beautician's, but according to her brother, it was not. She was going round to a a digger factory around the corner to have some new bits added to it.
Or did you say something else?
Digger.
Oh,
I know.
Sure?
Look,
sure?
I know she lives in Din Do Nothing Central, but it doesn't mean that was necessarily served by an ethnic. Well, I definitely know that because the person she saw had a job.
Digger and ethnic in the same sentence.
Ethnic.
Yes,
I'm saying
and ethnic in the same sentence.
No, I got a better idea.
Racist.
I got a better idea. I think you should do it.
Do what?
Say digger and ethnic in the same sentence.
Digger ethnic. An ethnic digger.
Really? An ethnic digger?
Yes, an ethnic digger. Wait, am I in Team America? I should not be drinking.
We have another member of the panel now. I think.
Yay, Jay Willie's here.
Hello, Jay Willie.
Hello, I'm back now.
Yay, we have friends. Somebody save me from my stupidity.
Drink some more.
I'm getting there, woman. Stop telling me what to do.
Yes. Does Jay Willie? Is he normally quite high in vitamin C?
Brighter than you, I guess.
Are you normally high in vitamin C?
What? No, but you are. When I finish with you,
I'm
hard.
To be fair, you are.
Vitamin D.
Somebody tried to speak, and I unfortunately talked over them. So please try again. Well, in that case, then hi.
Yes, common sense will say your words for you.
Your microphone's not doing very well at this moment in time, Mr. Willie. I mean, I love your name, but the microphone's not doing well. Do you like his name, B?
What?
I said, do you like his name?
What, Jay Willie?
Yes. No, just Willie.
Willie?
Yes. Yes. I did it, and I didn't even touch her.
What's the matter with my name? It's a nice name.
No, there's nothing wrong with the name. There's nothing wrong with the name. It's.
They were getting me to say I like Willie.
Yes.
Where are you from, Mr. Willie?
But haven't what? What the fuck?
He's from South Africa.
Happened to my camera?
Ah, I see.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, of course I remember. I like talking to you. I remember people. I'm drunk. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Another one who dare show his face on camera.
By your what you said in the...
I would love to be able to respond, but I literally got
no.
bits of that.
Do you recognize me?
Yeah, of course I do. I've seen you loads of times. Well, not loads of times. I think we've streamed 3 times together overall so far.
Wait a minute. Which website?
I'm going to go with Paul.
Yeah.
He does look very young and impressionable.
Well, he's the one that normally does me. You know, he's the skinny guy that does the fat one.
I am. What's the debate I had? or we had with said that parents shouldn't be raising kids the state should.
Am I the only one who can't hear him, or is it just?
No.
No, he's talking. He's talking in code. He's almost like he's reciting the Welsh language.
Microphone, Jay Willie. Microphone.
No, it's not his microphone. he keeps breaking up.
Well, he is really young.
A bad one.
Really young, so you know, school.
He obviously has South African broadband,
Yeah.
which is obviously run by the AMC. So it's currently being run by the best possible blacks they could find.
You racist.
No, that's
What did
affirmative action.
Hey, I didn't hear that.
He said the best possible blacks are running your country.
Affirmative action is destroying the country.
Did you hear that? See, I was right. He just said it's destroying the country.
No,
I didn't hear anything. I did not hear anything. All I heard was
I don't
said
care.
affirmative action.
There you go. See, I was right.
yeah.
Like it's the word.
It's certainly destroying your broadband, that's for sure.
Oh, somebody else has dropped in. Oh, somebody else has dropped in. Who else has dropped in?
Hi,
Hi, Brandon.
Oh, Brandon's in. I haven't spoken to you in ages. Actually, I don't think I've spoken to you. Speaking. English is not my first language.
It's not tonight. His first language is please donate to my PayPal.
And as that has just been said, please send me some money so I can buy a drink.
I am broke right now.
Cheers, guys!
Oh, fucking every single one is always claiming poverty tonight. Come on, somebody must have at least, at least the price of a packet of Johnnies for old common sense. He needs a posh wank.
Because I am eating cheese out of her toes.
Ooh.
What? The truth hurts sometimes.
Ooh, I didn't realize it turned into a full-blown fungal nail infection.
It's not full blown. It's just, sometimes I don't take the care as much as I should do.
Oh, okay. Does it actually ooze as well when you squeeze it?
Not so much. It depends on where you squeeze.
Right. Are we still talking about the feet now?
I'll let your mind decide.
I'd
We're
rather
not
not.
talking about
We're
feet.
talking about Bee here. She's very good at making disgusting comments and clearing farmyard grounds.
She hasn't cleared my grounds.
Mm.
Wait, hang on. That did not come out right.
She can. Yeah.
So, by the way, people, if you want me to drink more and you want me to stay longer, please donate. If you like, the common sense guy being this silly, stupid person, please help me carry on.
No. You are not stupid because you are still not converted to the left. So therefore, you can't be that stupid.
Well, I don't know. If you give me enough alcohol, I can make some really good, coherent arguments for the left.
Yeah.
Oh
Also,
my God, I would like to see that because
if you've got some very, very attractive left-wing politicians, preferably female, he'd very happily like to bang them tonight.
Well, I'd
isn't
take
that kind of dangerous though?
Oh, not for him. No, that's a challenge.
It is a challenge. I just want to hear them scream.
Yeah, but
Capitalism!
he wants to have sex with a socialist tonight because then he can claim that their orgasm isn't their own.
Yes, and they have to pay me for it, and I want my labor being paid for.
But even this doesn't make sense. Why are they also they against prostitution if they want people to be able to own their labor? It doesn't make sense. And if you want people the right to own the fruits of your labor, then why doesn't they like people selling things in the free market? Like that never makes sense to me.
Well, it's obviously because it's the patriarchy, isn't it? The patriarchy paying for a fuck. That's what it is. If a load of lesbian feminists decided to start paying for prostitution, then it'd be fine. So all
Lesbians don't pay for sex.
Well, considering how fucking ugly they are, they probably need to.
They may need to, but they don't, because somehow women love other women.
Right. Well,
they
in
don't.
that
They
case,
really
then,
don't. The women really don't love each other. Isn't that right? Only woman on the panel.
I can't stand other women.
I was going to say
that's the best description of Bee I've ever heard. Yeah, excuse me,
Other
woman on the panel.
I was really going to say you don't know B that well. Just
Yeah,
any.
I'm gonna start calling her. I'm gonna start calling her woman in a JCB shop.
I'm just going to call her JCB.
No, that.
I'm just going to call her JCB because it goes with her name.
Oh, dear.
Hey, you joined.
Hey, you bollocks.
You joined. You have to take it. Wait, hang on, that's bad. That's a memory.
Never, ever, ever, ever let me know anything that you don't like, B. You should know better than that. And if I do find out something you don't like, then don't make it obvious that you don't.
Exactly, because
You do know.
JCB.
I'm gonna put a load of JCB stickers in with his laptop when I send it, so he can plaster it all over your house.
Well, I'll plaster it somewhere, but it won't be over a house.
You.
Oh, come on.
What? Come on, that was actually quite good for a drunkard. Give me credit. That's not that bad. I've said
Right. Since he's brought that up, I dare you now, common sense, and this is going beyond talking about having sex with a left-wing politician. That means when you have your inevitable birthday bonk tonight, because your missus is probably like most women too tight to buy presents, so just give you sex instead. I want you.
That's good.
Privilege to be
Yeah.
that woman.
Well, before ejaculation, I want you to shout out, even if it's just once. B!
No, I'm going to shout out Diane Abbott.
No,
I'm going to shout out Diane Abbott. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shout out Diane Abbott. And if nobody knows who Diane Abbott is, I'm going to shout out Maxine Waters.
No, it's got to be B. Otherwise, you're going to hurt her feelings.
I'm not doing a real life. I'm not doing a real life person. I'm not doing a real life person.
What, you're saying Diane Abbott doesn't exist?
I'm saying that I would probably be dead before my dick enters Diane Abbott. Yes.
Dick in my mouth.
I'm not going to put my dick in your mouth.
Would say
I'm
that.
not that
Haven't you seen the?
All I hear is, haven't you seen the joke? And I need more than that. Wait, have
you seen the jokes about Diane Abbott?
Yes, I have seen lots of jokes about Diane Abbott, especially the fact that the wows herself can't actually have any C. But Diana.
Diane Abbott is the joke.
My master just left me. She come in and she ate something, looked at me, and then fucked off. She's a bitch.
You know why, don't you? She heard my name.
Well, no, this is Emma, my master cat.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were getting sex from the cat tonight.
Well, one form of pussy is good enough, surely.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, well, that's one of making it scream, isn't it? Come here,
well,
I'm going to take you to bed with a packet of Dreamies.
It is. Just because I'm getting it tonight and you're not doesn't mean anything, does it, bitch?
Hey, mate, I've got 3 cats and 12 rabbits. I'm getting plenty.
Well, make sure that you use the rabbit first because you want to be loose before you have the pussy.
Well, especially if you grab it and stick it in the wrong end, get lacerations.
Well, some people get lacerations. It depends if you're soft when you do it.
Well, considering how much you've drunk tonight, I think you're going to be soft for a very long time.
You don't know me very well.
No, common sense is he's a very smart man. We've talked about this before. All it takes.
I'm not smart, otherwise I wouldn't be drinking on the street.
No. One lollipop stick and some tape.
You're just brighter than the average population.
Nothing to do with population. I don't share population. I just make population.
No, but you are a smart human on the planet. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I just help.
But hey, who is?
He is. He's very smart, but one area he fails in, he hasn't quite got the ability to make you all empty your pockets into his PayPal account tonight, which at the moment you've all been failing to do, and I think you should all feel very, very bad.
And there's a link in the chat there right now. So if you want to buy me a drink,
Did we have a conversation before we came on that we have to say your PayPal account a certain amount of times?
No, we actually haven't, which is really scary.
Yeah. Because I think we've done it quite a few now.
I need to save money for moving somewhere else. Like I need to move to my own apartment soon.
I hear Botswana's really good this time of year.
It's actually true. It's kind of good. Well, I meant it's a different apartment. Like I want to move out of my parents' apartment, not further. Just out of
Personally, I would move to Botswana.
apartment.
Personally, I'd move to Botswana, though. Then again, compared to South Africa, Zimbabwe is probably a good idea at this minute.
No, Zimbabwe is crazy. They're poor as fuck because most people in Zimbabwe, right, that I meet, a lot of people I meet are from South Africa because they hate that their former president destroyed Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
So South Africa and hate everything that the people did with Zimbabwe, and they're trying the best for not having that happen to South Africa. So the Zimbabweans are really cool. I like them.
Sure. I mean, I would like to know what B's opinion is about worldwide politics.
Excuse me?
Wait, my opinion?
No, I would like to know what B's, as in the female B. I would like to know what her opinion is about worldwide politics.
Worldwide politics? Could you be a little bit more specific? There are a lot of countries.
What the hell have we just been talking about?
I'd rather ask B
what politics.
I'd rather ask B, what's the best digger to use for digging foundation for an extension?
I'd rather ask her why she got so much cheese on her toes.
I've got cheese on my toes.
See, I told you I could make her do it.
Have you? Have you got a bit too much cheese on your taco as well?
Oh, that's not something you ask a woman.
I'm just asking her how she cooked her tea, that was all.
Well
I'm gay, so I don't care about the woman.
I tell you one thing, the kebab's got a lot of mayonnaise.
Oh, it does, yeah. Quite a lot of vegetables.
Remove kebab!
Somebody help us. If anybody else wants to come on and actually make this a conversation that's actually half intellectual, please come on.
Conversation.
Yeah.
I can't make the conversation, okay? I have good things to say. I just need to say that your country, the people running your country, right? You have to know that they are crazy. All the immigration going on there, they are crazy. They're completely mad. I'm sorry, but they are complete idiots. How? Why do people want to destroy Europe? Not you, but why are the people destroying Europe?
Because most people in Europe are socialist.
This person's obviously never seen,
Yeah, but they're just going to turn Europe into Africa. Why do you want to do that? That's dumb.
Because we need to learn from our people of color leaders. That'll do.
Okay. Diversity is our strength.
Exactly.
If people like diversity so much, if people like diversity, you know what they should do? If they like diversity of religion and race and ethnicity and language, you know what they should do? They should move to Brazil, South Africa, or Lebanon and see what they like with the diversity there. Because if they don't do it, and say that they're being hypocrites, go to a diverse country and see what that's like.
I'll give it a miss.
Yeah, I think what you meant was adversity is our strength.
Possibly.
Yeah. Obviously,
it's hypocritical.
You're asking the wrong question, though. You need to be asking, instead of why are we doing this, you need to ask why not. This could be think about it in the sense that we're having a lot of fun with our cultural enrichment. It's making life far more interesting and fun for so many people.
Yeah, but why would you want to turn your country into Lebanon, South Africa?
Because we're people who love change. We get bored easily.
We love diversity.
Good change, it's a bad change.
Oh, there's no such thing as bad change. There's only change, and change is good. Nothing more boring than having a country that's well run and prosperous and full of happy, liberated people. No, we want poverty and misery and oppression. That's what everybody aspires to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I just realised?
Well, they're sure about it. So
we actually somehow got rid of B.
No, B decided to run away, to buzz off.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We somehow was so bad that we got B to leave.
Hey, look, I'm going to eat, so I'm going to feed myself, and she busts away. Get it? Bust, feed.
I get it.
It's cancer.
Feminism.
You know what we've got? We got a BBC comedian on here tonight, haven't we?
I didn't realise that
Feminism
you were
is
back in
cancer.
work again.
Do you know what? I think we
I'm
might
I'm
have.
not kidding.
We might have Russell Howard's long lost brother here.
Oh, fuck off. If he's on this show, he can fuck off. If Russell Howard ever come onto this channel, forget my PayPal. Just leave. just run away. Just do a beat. Just do a beat and run away and don't even say bye.
I would actually point out to him, can you look up talent in the dictionary? Because it's definitely a word you've never been exposed to.
I would more say don't worry about the talent side of it and go, have you ever heard of partisanship? As in, don't pick a side in comedy because you always alienate somebody. So try and make fun of both sides.
He knows his demographic. That's the problem.
But
yes, because he's from the
There's
south.
difference between it's different between making a joke of something or is a joke.
Yeah.
What you know, what you're doing as
Like
well
if
is
you had a president, like if you had a president that used taxpayer money to build a swimming pool next to his house, and when people asked why did you use taxpayer money to build a swimming pool, he said because if my house starts burning from my swimming pool and shove at the flame to make my house safe again. When your president are saying that, you don't need to make a joke because you're.
You are the joke.
Yeah,
You don't need to make the
sound
joke.
like
You are the joke.
that does sound like something that will probably be in the next Labour Party manifesto.
Don't give him
You know
too
that
much
actually
credit.
happened to the former president of South Africa? He did the exact same thing. It was a real story. No exaggerations. Exactly what happened.
The African nations do corruption quite better than most other people.
Oh, I don't know.
No.
I don't know about that. The European Union does corruption on a whole new level.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
Well,
I suppose
the European Union are trying to be like Africa, so that makes sense.
Well, with the African ones, at least they're, it's blatantly obvious and they know it. Whereas with the European Commission, no, it's all supposed to be above board. But in the same way that Jean-Claude Juncker is not a moronic alcoholic.
How dare you decide that my president is an absolute alcoholic?
Well, a bit like my host at the moment.
I am not an alcoholic. I just like to drink. Why I'm in charge.
Yeah.
The most important thing is, though, that I don't rub the back of women's heads and then kiss them on the forehead like they're some sort of cheap skank. I don't do things like that. I just tell them to fuck off.
What?
It's such a shame you were never a BBC celebrity in the 70s then, Common Sense. You'd have been in jail by now.
Well, because I'm a gentleman and I won't do that behind closed doors. Well, I suppose I would if they asked me.
Yep.
I suppose they would if they asked me.
Yeah, he was thinking more like sort of a house in South London as well, with a woman with extremely cheesy feet as well.
Hey, I'm not going to say no. That's the sad thing of it, Mr. Bollocks. I'm not going to say no.
Does it matter if she says no, or is it a
Of course
case
it matters if she says no.
No, you know the rules. Was it no means yes, and yes means yes, and no means yes three times?
No.
I am not.
These are feminist. Now it's feminist rules. It's like means no. Yes means no. Maybe. Yes. And no later. None in everything means because everything is a page.
The sad thing about Mr. Willie is that I did not hear a single word.
Do you know what? I know I compared him unfavorably to Russell Howard, and I'm sorry for that. That was very, very cruel of me. But even though we can't understand a fucking word he's saying, he's still actually funnier than Russell Howard.
Yeah, I agree.
That's quite impressive. That somebody, he could even be speaking another language, and we still find him far more amusing than that talentless lank of fucking piss.
Well, to be fair, if we're going to talk about stuff
Wait,
like that,
who?
I obviously, like yourself, would have watched the fireworks that happened on New Year's Eve for the
Mhm.
UK, obviously. And with Madness, one of the points of like basically the band that was playing for New Year's Eve, I'm not going to get political, but Brexit. I'm just going to leave that there. I mean, he went into more detail, but I'm not going to get political, but Brexit.
Yeah. Again, another beautiful oxymoron there.
I would have just called him a moron, but fair enough.
Wait a minute. So what was that? That was Suggs who decided to get political, was it?
Yes.
Oh no. I hate this thing about people that you quite admired from the past.
Yes.
You thought really good songs and all that, and you thought, good old fashioned working class bloke. And then you realize, no, he's been a millionaire for decades. He has no concept of being working class anymore.
No, not for a while. The only thing that's working class is his accent because he can't change it because if he does, he's not Madness anymore.
Exactly, yeah. So hang on, when he said, I don't want to get political, but Brexit, did he go, fucking bring it on? And then the whole crowd went, hooray! And then they carried on singing.
No. It was something along the lines of, what the fuck are they doing? But without the swearing.
Oh, okay.
Why would you want to be in the EU? EU is evil. It can fuck off. It's a bad thing.
See, I agree with that. You agree with that. But actual people that are leading us and actually have some power, they, for some reason, I don't know why, but think that the EU is a good thing. I have no idea with what happens with how much that they get paid. I mean, I didn't say that.
Same sort of people who thought that
True.
Hillary would have made a fantastic president.
Hillary would have made a great president. She would have sent us into World War III and we would have been free of the European Union.
Yay.
Like I actually talked to my parents like that.
Well, I hope
She
you didn't
proved
communicate with them
Trump.
over the internet. They wouldn't have understood a word.
No, but she said she preferred Trump and Bernie over Hillary,
Yeah, most people prefer
which I agreed to definitely.
Most people prefer Bernie over Hillary. I think if Bernie would have run the primaries for the Democrats, I don't think Trump would have won.
Yeah, I do agree.
Me and talk about this. We said that Trump or Bernie. I would probably didn't. She wouldn't probably vote at all because she didn't like any of them. She just liked them. She just preferred them over Hillary.
No, I understand. It's just that with those three as particular candidates, if Bernie would have won the Democratic primary, it would have been the fact that most of the Democrats, in fact, all of the Democrats, would have voted for Bernie. Where even some of the Republicans, some of them, not all of them, would have voted for Bernie. Because the reason why more people voted for Trump is because, believe this or not, Democrats, he was actually a better candidate than corrupt Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, of course he was.
Well,
But he had some good ideas, because when one interview, Bernie Sanders was completely. But you want to have migration, right? He said like no.
Well, the thing is with immigration with the Democrats is that before Trump come onto the scene, is that the Democrats are actually to provide a wall and they needed to go forward
and Bernie
with
said
ideas. Carry on.
He said that he would make Americans poor if they bring in more immigrants. So therefore, he was right about that.
Yeah, but that's the reason.
All of his policies are dumb, but he won.
But that's the reason why
Very sure about
but that's the reason why I brought up the fact that before Hillary Clinton was facing off against Trump, almost every Democrat, including Pelosi, including Hillary Clinton, and including a couple of others that were prominent at the time, besides Bernie, were saying that we need to have some form of regulation on the border for the Americans. And most of them were advocating for a form of wall before Donald Trump even claimed that as a policy. And because Donald Trump claimed that as a policy, they distanced themselves from it.
If you look at America, It's the opposite of what the right are doing, regardless of what the right are doing. They're fucking idiots. The left. That's the worst.
All I got
part
was
of the left.
Idiots.
No.
Oh. No, all I was saying was that all I got from what you said, Mr. Willie, they're all fucking idiots. That's all I got.
It's most about the left in America and Europe.
I'm not sure what's going on.
The principles.
Am I the only one that's getting Mr. Willie as breaking in or out, or is that just?
Oh no, he does the same thing for me.
No, it's probably for the best. He seems to be talking nonsense anyway. But
no, but they just do it rather than how they do this right.
Mr. Willie, Mr. Willie, before you carry on, we cannot hear you. Mr. Willie, before you carry on, we cannot hear you. Leave and come back. I won't kick you, but leave and come back, and that should reset your microphone.
Good.
Because we can't hear you at all. Yeah, cool.
One thing to be drunk.
I want to hear what his argument is. I want to hear whatever he has to actually say.
It's one thing to be listening to somebody when they're trying to debate and not be able to make anything out of what they're saying because they're roboting, but also when you're slightly drunk as well, that don't really help at all, does it?
I'm probably not slightly anymore. I'm going to be honest. I'm probably not slightly anymore.
Oh, common sense, me old son. I have to go. I've got things to do, I'm afraid. But I do hope somebody actually puts their hand in their pocket and gives you something before you end this stream, because I'm shocked that your fans, your hardcore loyalists, they'll come and watch your streams. They'll send you all the love and the comments and all that other shit. But when it comes to, giving you a couple of quid, honestly, these tightwads, I'm shocked.
Well, you know what you could do instead then, Mr. Magic Bollocks?
It was a very, very expensive Christmas.
And with that being said, bye-bye.
See you later, mate.
See you later, mate. Take care.
But I think... can you hear me better now?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the thing I said is that the left in Europe and America, they do not have any principles. They just go against whatever the right happened to say at the time.
I kind of disagree with that. They do have a sense of principle.
Oh yeah, but
that
that's
doesn't
not my main
necessarily
point.
mean that they don't go against what the right says because the right says it, but they do have a sense of principle. Most of the people on the left are fighting for their beliefs because they believe it's the best thing for them to advocate for.
Are you okay? The things that I meant is that whenever someone on the right says something, a politician or has a policy, right? The left just try to distance themselves from that policy just because someone in the right said it. So therefore, they have to be on the because the right said it. That's the only reason they seem to have. And
I agree with your sentiment. I do agree with your sentiment, and I do agree with your premise. But at the same time, for me to even try to accept that the left don't have a set of principles, I can't accept that. Even people like Owen MacDonald, which I completely and utterly dislike on his ideological stances, he still has his principles. Now, I disagree with his principles, but he has them.
Yeah, basically.
Oh yeah, okay, that's true. That you're right about that. So I don't mean the principal part, just the other parts, if that makes sense.
Well, don't get me wrong. If Trump says that, or somebody on the right says, rather than using Trump as an example, if he says that, or somebody says that they're going to build a wall, and the Democrats half a year were saying they're going to build a wall themselves, yes, they would distance themselves from it, but not because they want to change their principles, but because somebody on the right said it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they've changed their principles on that issue. That means that they changed their reasoning behind their principles.
Okay, that's me. Now I am convinced.
I need more alcohol. I'll convince you later.
No, you already convinced me. I I just said principle because I don't know. I just did it because it felt like right. So whatever. But like, do you want to hear some? Do you want to hear some? You want to hear some good news?
Yeah, of
about
course.
a country in Europe.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to hear a good thing about a country in Europe because there's fuck all going on good at the minute in Europe.
It's one country. You know Sweden?
Yes.
They are going to make it illegal for people to marry underage girls in this year.
That's a good thing, even though that they were produced
because it's currently legal.
No, I agree with you because they were actually producing leaflets explaining it to their national citizens that people that were coming into the country that already had child brides were actually able to do this and it should be acceptable because it's their culture. I completely disagree with that notion, and I am completely.
Anyone have any brain disagree with that?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it was actually someone who could legally marry a child in that country too.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That's true. Was... And now that's going to be illegal this year. That we are now.
I did not know that it was legal for Sweden-born or national-born people in Sweden.
I don't know if they were born there, but they were in Sweden and married to an underage person, and that was legal according to the law.
I didn't know that. I thought that it was legal in Sweden, which I still disagree with, but for pragmatic sake, I thought that it was legal for people in Sweden that if they were married to a child bride, that it was classified as legal marriage. Now, again, I find that abhorrent and disgusting, but slightly different to how a national would be able to do that to an immigrant.
No, immigrants that are immigrating, not nationals, just immigrants can marry children who are also immigrants. That's the point.
So yeah, no, I agree, but I was being pedantic on the terminology because in the way you tried to explain it was trying to suggest, and I know you didn't mean it that way, but was trying to suggest that it was legal for nationals to marry children when it was only legal for immigrants because of their culture for them to marry them. Again, find completely and utterly abhorrent and absolutely disgusting, but still a slight difference.
Oh yeah, allow a migrant to marry a child bride who, even though they weren't married when they came to the country, they came to the country. I don't even know if they came together. I don't think so. But then
no. Sorry, Jay Willie. My point was not that it was okay for the migrants to do that, but the way that it was suggested.
Of course, I know.
No, but it was just the way that it was suggested was that you were. Yeah. It was being suggested in itself, and I know it wasn't no fault of your own, just the way that it implied it as you were speaking, that it was national people and it was a national law for it to be accepted, when it was a law that migrants were able to do that due to culture. Again, disagree with it, but it's different from a national law than a law that would be for specific groups of people. And I'm not protecting them because I think that it's a good idea. I'm just saying that there is a difference in terminology.
That's true, but I'm not entirely sure if born citizens can get married
no, they can't.
to other people if they're
No, they can't. They have statutory rape laws.
Oh yeah, but if they don't, like for example, kids, but they weren't allowed to have sex, but they could. I guess, but they could legally get married, even though I don't even know if they were born there.
No, nationals couldn't. Nationals couldn't. It was only people that were already married to what they were called child. Yeah, it was. It was already people that were coming into the country.
That's not the whole story. There were actually people that came into the country separately, and after being in the country for a long time, they got married to children they didn't know when they came to the country.
Yes, but that weren't nationals. That were people that were coming across the country due to it being... Again, I'm not fucking defending it, but it's a case of principle and a case of being honest. It was a case of they were not marrying nationals that were already in the country. It was a case that they were marrying children brides from the country of their origin.
Okay, but yeah, but you see the difference is that there's a difference in recognizing a marriage, abroad marriage in the country, and to performing marriage
I agree with you.
in the
I
country.
agree with you, but the premise, how you set the idea up, was that it was law that you could marry a child if you were a national or in the country, when specifically it wasn't anything to do with that. A migrant couldn't marry a child of the national country. It had to be a child bride from the origin country.
I think they were from different countries and didn't know each other, and they have already been in the country for years. I didn't even know if they were citizens or not.
It didn't matter if they were citizens. I'm not talking about citizens. I'm talking about the fact that the migrants, due to their culture, could marry. I can't even believe I'm trying to defend this.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying
I
to be
mean, now I get it.
pedantic.
Yeah, they could. They could marry. They could get married to children in the country. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Fuck.
So yeah, now we know, and they are going to ban it now in this year. So
Thank
that's a
fuck.
progress.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, thank fuck.
So
Thank
now you're going
absolutely
to
fuck.
stop marrying people to children. 2019. It took you that long? Okay.
No, I
Jeez.
completely agree with you on that one. Yes, do not marry children that cannot even give consent. Do not do that. Do not fucking do that.
It is
I feel like
completely
one day that
What?
whole that whole conversation about, can children give consent is gonna come up eventually.
Oh, definitely.
just-
Children cannot give consent.
yeah.
If you wanted to go by psychological standards, which is something that I'm studying, the brain itself doesn't turn into an adult brain to the age of 25 for
Yeah,
most
exactly.
average people. So for people to
Well,
be
I do
able to say,
believe that-
"Oh, we can consent at the age of 16, 18 or whatever," it's a case of, yeah, okay, maybe that's arbitrary and something that you could discuss. But for saying that anything under that age of legal requirement, depending where you are, no. You fuck me, my hair's a mess.
Yeah, I agree.
Fuck
Your
me, my
hair is
hair's
better
a
than
mess.
mine. My hair is curly as fuck.
I can't help it. I need more alcohol.
Like, I prefer your hair. It's better than my stupid hair. My hair is dumb. It's curly. I hate it.
I just need more alcohol and I won't care anymore.
But wait, do you know if there are any other European countries that allow to be married?
To be fair, my friend, I have missed almost all of that because of your microphone again.
Oh, but do you know if there are other European countries that allow people to get married to children? No, to be married with children, but you get what I mean.
I think a couple of Scandinavian countries do. Not just Sweden. I think Denmark does due to cultural differences, and I think Norway does.
Oh,
But
God.
that's an opinion. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
But because I'm as Danish.
Again,
So,
I didn't hear
kind of
most of that.
No, it's kind of shameful if Denmark would do that because my ethnicity is Danish.
Well, to be fair, anybody that has any sort of ethnicity, regardless of if it's to do with your culture or anything else to do with that, if you're trying to suggest, not you, but in general, people that are advocating for child marriage, that are trying to suggest that anybody under the age of, say, 16 as an average is able to give consent and understands what the values of marriage are and what it entails, I don't think that you could have a conversation with anybody that advocates that, because people under the age of 16 don't even know what they want to do as a job, let alone if they want to spend the rest of their life with you.
We should
Not only
discuss that with Amos
16-year-olds are
G.
retarded.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they really are. It's stupid as fuck.
Yeah, but that's one thing that I
I
really
spent- I-
like about all these like maps and all that sort of people that are on Twitter at the minute, where everybody's going, "Oh well, I haven't done anything, but I'm just attracted to," and it's just like, I don't give a fuck if you're attracted to or if you have done something. The thing is that you're already attracted to, so eventually you will do something. So you either need to go and see help, or you need to leave, one way or another.
Should castrate themselves.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I mean, there's probably other techniques that people could possibly use for it, and
But
other
if they want
techniques.
to, they should be allowed to. That's what I mean.
It's a possibility. I mean, I wouldn't suggest that anybody should
Because,
restrict
if
themselves from doing stuff like that. I mean, after all, we have people that are transgender where they literally cut their dicks and balls off to be able to be what they want to be. So if they want to castrate themselves, I don't see the problem in that. That's up to them. But for laws to be
like
passed,
if that like make them not have same sexual needs, then that would be say better for children because there would be less pedophiles having a risk of molesting them if pedophiles were castrated.
it depends. The reason why it depends. The reason why it depends is that it matters if it's a form of an attraction. I'm not saying sexuality because I don't fucking think it's a sexuality. But if it's in a form of an attraction, it doesn't matter if you have balls or a dick or not. The attraction and the power dynamic will still be there.
No, but I know that, but the thing is that if you if someone is castrated, then they would not have the same sexual urges as otherwise.
It depends again. The
Yeah, but
sexual
generally
urges are-
speaking, that's true. That's why people, when you castrate animals, they get they don't have like sexual desires and much less sexual desires.
Yes, much less, but they still have forms of sexual urges. The reason why is because it's embedded into every animal's nature. The attraction.
Yeah, of course I know that, but
but the attraction is still there. To chemically castrate
it
or
would
to
be
physically castrate doesn't necessarily mean that you will stop the attraction and the idea of having power dynamics. Because certain things with pedophilia, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a physical attraction. It's also a case of a power dynamic and the deflowering of people, if you so choose to use that term, which is a case of that can be a more of a mental stimulation rather than a physical stimulation. And again, I'm not saying it's a physical attraction or a sexuality in itself. There's just more things that we really need to understand before that we can push forward with everything. Again, I am not advocating for the fact of them to be able to do anything. But if we need to talk on a subject, we need to understand the subject fully rather than letting emotion on either side or any side dictate to us what we can and cannot do and what we should or shouldn't do.
Yeah, the things that if, like I said, it could make things in some cases less risky, and it will be one step in the right direction, if you know what I mean. I don't think it's not that much better, but at least a bit better.
Oh no, it'd definitely be a lot better. I mean, most people do it because of physical attraction. I will agree with you on that premise. It's just a case of, as somebody just said in the chat, citation needed for castration doesn't prevent such activity. It's the same thing as if you ever see a dog that doesn't have nuts can still do the actions of wanting to have sex with a female. Because it's not just a physical reaction. It's a reaction that is emotive in evolution. Because if we're attracted to something, we will physically act out that attraction. Now, that doesn't mean that I think it's a sexuality. I fucking hate pedophiles. Absolutely, I think that they should burn and be killed in most instances. But at the same time, that's to do with my moral biases. Again, that doesn't mean I advocate for them to be able to do anything. But if we're going to talk about a subject, we need to strip away the moral virtue that we all have and understand the problem. Because once you understand the problem, you can deal with the problem full on and fully over.
Yeah, but personally speaking, I think that pedophiles should be castrated.
Yeah, I agree. In practice, I agree.
Yeah.
In practice,
And also,
I agree. I'm definitely not going to say anything bad about that.
I think pedophiles,
And-
like non-offending ones, we should give them help. But the very moment they offend, I believe we should, as Medicare said, take them out back and put a bullet in their head.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Oh my God.
No, I agree. I have no love for paedophiles in themselves. But if we are going to talk about a particular situation or a particular thing that we ourselves don't understand, and thank God we ourselves here in the chat and everywhere that doesn't understand the situation, then we can't sort the situation out until we understand it or have an understanding of it. Because once we understand it, we can deal with it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm advocating for everybody to fuck a child. I'm advocating for people to realize that there's certain things that we need to understand before we can deal with something. It's, for me, I'm not comparing the fucking two because it's not a sexuality. So don't take it this way when I use this as an example. But when you have people that were of a particular sexuality, people hated the idea of them being a sexuality. Now, until we understood the sexuality, we completely and utterly destroyed them. The thing is that's different is that a child, no matter what, cannot give consent. The adult themselves understands what's going on. Child, completely different, can never understand it and never will do, at least 99.9% of the time. But at the same time, we have to understand what the adults are doing, because even if we took every adult that was a paedophile out and killed them afterwards, there would still be paedophiles after them. Until we understand why things happen, we will not stop it. And that's all I wanted to say.
And also the things with getting non-offending pedophiles like help be helping them technically, in my opinion.
No, I completely agree. I mean, the thing is, it sounds like I'm advocating for people to be able to do things. I'm really not. I really dislike pedophiles, and I think that they should probably be castrated, and I think that they probably, especially if they offend, should die. Probably by the parents being able to do what they wanted to them before they did. That's how much I really dislike that idea of pedophilia. But at the same time, you can't get rid of a problem until you understand it. That's all I'm saying on it.
That is correct. That is very correct.
Brandon,
even though,
do you have anything to add at all on that?
Wait, one more time.
I have one thing more to add.
I didn't hear a thing. Wait, what'd you say?
I said, do you have anything to add on to that at all, or any sort of opinion?
Well, something related to that. You know, there's I just remember like there's parents out there who are trying to make their kids transgender.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, people actually do that, and it's really sickening.
I mean, you have.
I think that's just a sad example of a natural selection, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to be transsexual, then let them be transsexual. The thing is,
I agree.
No,
but don't let the parents advocate what they want their children to be. If the child wants to do it, fine. But if the parents are pushing it, then it's child abuse.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. If parents making the children transgender, that's like, I believe that they should go to jail for that. I'm not kidding. They should go to jail for that.
No, I don't think we should give kids.
Sorry. And 80% of kids who have dysphoria, prepubescent kids who have dysphoria, it disappears. So it's only 20% chance the child who say they are transgender are going to be transgender when they grow up.
Yeah, that is pretty much, but that on the statistics, to be fair. But
now, I don't think we should give kids hormone blockers, though.
No,
neither do I.
No, I absolutely, completely not agree with that. To the point of, how can you expect a child to understand what their gender is or what their sex is, and then ask them to be able to change it? And I will use this as an argument. If they can do that and understand what their gender is, and understand what their sex is, and understand all of the repercussions of which happens, then for people that are advocating for paedophilia, why is it that they cannot consent to sex but understand what their gender and sex is?
Exactly.
Oh,
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating
And also-
for paedophilia, but if they can do that with their gender and sex, why is it that they don't understand it? Because the reason why I'm using that as an argument is because if we agree as a westernized civilization that they cannot, and they definitely cannot, give consent, then how the fuck do they understand what their gender or sexuality is at that age?
Exactly.
they don't.
I
Like,
agree.
who the fuck knew the sexuality does? Few people do, but like I didn't. Most people
I agree. I think most people don't
doesn't.
understand what their sexuality is or what their gender is at the ages of
I mean,
up to 12 to 16 or even lower than that. I don't think most people understand what's going on. Most people don't
Yeah,
even
and
understand what puberty is, let alone what fucking sex is at that age.
true. Like even if kids, like even when you are like, it's like even if people that are kids aren't raised to be straight or whatever, they might be undecided, but most of them will just be straight of themselves. In my place, you kids that you don't know. It's just more likely to assume that they would like if you raise a kid. I think the best way to say that the kid are are more likely to be straight, but they can't doesn't but they don't but they might not be, if that makes sense.
Well, the thing is with people that are transgender, I mean the thing
But
is
it's
that
not
I really hate.
transgender.
The thing is that I really, really hate about transgender is not the issue of transgender and being just gender dysphoric, because it is a mental condition. I have a problem with people that say that they are gender dysphoric, but will not go and get a diagnosis from it because they're scared of the doctors. The reason why they're scared of the doctors is because they know they're not gender dysphoric. The numbers do not represent what it should be. Because most people that are gender dysphoric will have other symptoms, such as being depressed, not being able to socialize properly, anxiety, so on and so forth. Where most people that are being
True.
transgender use it as a form of identity now, rather than it being an actual mental condition. And there's nothing wrong with mental conditions. Carry on.
Like I know people that are transgender and like they just wanted to go and get the diagnosis as quickly as they could, because they just saw that their life was constant suffering because of gender dysphoria. So they just wanted to get the diagnosis so that they can transition, because they felt so horrible about not about being girls when they felt like they should be boys. And they when they were like teenagers, and they are like those guys I know are teenagers now, upper teenagers, basically adults, and they are started to transition when they were like upper teen, which is, in my opinion, the better age to start transition if you have to. Like it's better when you're an adult, but if you can't,
considered an adult or a young adult to transition. I don't think you should transition at the age of 10 or 11.
that's true.
Yeah.
Like they started when they were like 16, 17, which is okay. I prefer when they're older, but some people feel so horrible about it, so they can't wait until they're older, and therefore, okay, you can try when you are an upper teen.
Sure, but that's the reason why they should go and get diagnosed and go to a psychologist. I have no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no problem with an 11-year-old going to a doctor, saying that they are gender dysphoric, and then going to a psychologist, and the psychologist going, "Yes, you are this. The only way that we can help you do this is be able to get you to transition." I have no problem with that chain of events. The problem I have is parents then going, "Well, because my child says that thinks that he's a she, that he should be a she." I have a problem with that.
Well, if
You need to go to actual professionals to be able to do this properly, because it's not just about the gender dysphoria, it's not just about being transgender and the identity of it. It's about helping the people that actually have a mental condition that is gender dysphoria, not anything else.
Yeah, and if you were a kid and the kid says that they were like, if for example somebody wants to call themselves Johanna and have long hairs and shirts when they are boys. Sure, if the parents want to go ahead and call the boys the girl name and let them dress up like girl and live around as if they were girls, then
Sure.
if the kid really wanted to, then I don't. And if parents want to, I think that's fine. But what we see in the news is that if the parents are trying to make their children trans when the children doesn't even want to.
No, I absolutely
Have you
think.
seen that?
I did a recent video about Desmond is Amazing. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that Desmond is Amazing loves doing the parades. I have no problem in my mind believing that. The problem that I have with Desmond is Amazing, or people like him, or children like him, is that he's being used as a political tool by the adults that are in and around his life. He does not understand, or they do not understand, what they are advocating for. They just like the idea of dressing up differently, which is absolutely fine. Do what the fuck you want, no problem. That's what life's all about. But I have a problem with full-blown adults
Like I remember
using their politics to prove that they want to do something else. That's what I have a problem with. Using their politics on their children. That's what I have a problem with.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to carry on, please do.
Jay Willie can, if he wants.
like
Bill Whitaker says all kids are attention seeking. Yeah, if anybody wanted to watch the recent video that I did on Desmond is Amazing, he even says in the video that he likes the idea of all the cameras on him. He likes that as an idea and as a preference, which again I don't have a problem with. I don't. I do have a problem with parents that use him as a political tool, where they throw him into a gay bar, which again, I don't have a problem with the aspect of a gay bar. I have a problem with the aspect of an 11-year-old dressed provocatively, dancing provocatively for full-grown men that are paying that child to dance provocatively by slipping bills into his pants and whatnot. I have a problem with that.
I have a problem with that too, and I am gay, so like that makes me have a bigger problem with that, because I want to be a parent, and if people are just going to use that as an argument why gays shouldn't be parents, like what?
But I don't think people should ever use that as an argument for gay.
People will do it. That's the point. But that's one of the reasons why I hate it. Well, I hate it because you shouldn't do it to kids, because it's sexualized children that's gross.
Exactly.
But secondary, I think it's wrong, because that's going to be used as an argument against gay people having kids, and I will go to have kids when I grow up.
Which definitely should not be used. I
know, but people will use it that way, which is horrible. But
I completely agree with your sentiment. The thing is that I completely utterly dislike it, that because we're supposed to be different from the left if we're right wing, supposedly. We're supposed to be different from that. We're not supposed to class everybody on an example. We're supposed to be able to differentiate between one group of people doing something that affects a massive group of people. We're supposed to be able to differentiate between that. Between, say, for instance, I was racist. Just because I'm racist doesn't mean that I would be racist. Let me rephrase that. That I would be the sole provocateur of the whole white race, or white race in general. It would be the fact of I would be, not everybody would be. And I think that we've fallen into the trap, because it's political, that we've fallen into the trap of using the left's dogma, of trying to associate everybody with a terminology or with the idea of something, rather than it being association of that person being. I mean, we ourselves always would argue that it's a fact of individualism, or the idea of the individual, regardless of what your political beliefs are. If you're slightly right of center, you always believe in the individual in itself. So if we believe that, why do we classify everybody with a particular small amount of people, because we do that ourselves. I do that myself. And we need
Yeah,
to
but humans are likely like labeling. I don't have a problem with that because that's just how human brains work. You need to label things to able to understand it because
sure.
like like human brains work like that. It's nothing to do about it. With like you can go and live with the wolf if you don't like labeling, if it don't like it. But
Sure.
I do think that it's wrong to say that I'm going to label someone this, and then that means and then people are ascribing to that label more than there is to it, if you get it.
Sure. No,
And that is something I have a huge problem with.
No, I definitely get it. I completely and utterly understand that. It's just the problem that I really do have with right and left wing is we polarize, and we do this on both sides or all sides or whatever you want to use as a terminology for it. Where if somebody on the left does something, we classify all the left of doing this. And the same thing for the left, when a right wing person does this, we classify that, or they classify that as all the right wing do this. And it's a form of tribalism and bannerism, where because we're under a particular banner and one person does this, we classify everybody as doing that. And I can't stand that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am guilty of doing that myself. I am guilty of that. But I think as human beings, I do think as human beings, though, that though we are programmed evolutionary as that, because it's a quick and easy synopsis and synapses for our brain to understand, we can rewrite that because we can look at it and use evidence to be able to prove our facts. We do that in almost every other thing and every other ideology and every other point of view, especially when it comes to scientific or mathematical ideologies. We do that very, very well. But when it comes to political identities, as it has been nowadays, it seems that we can't or won't, probably is the better descriptor there. We won't change our point of view on it because we don't want to, because our own biases won't let us. I think we dictate our biases, or our biases dictate to us rather, a lot more than we give credit for.
It's true, but I'm trying to avoid it. Just because one leftist advocate for mass murder, then I'm not going to assume that all leftists advocate for mass murder.
Exactly.
I am going to assume, however, that the majority of left will try to brush that under the cover and try to ignore it, even though that happens. So that's what I would do, because that's I know to be true. You get it?
No, I mean I completely agree. I mean, somebody in the chat called Lothal Sheffield. He's somebody that's been following me for quite a while. So thank you, Lothal Sheffield, for saying this. He goes, "What about parents who indoctrinate their kids to feel superior because they are a certain religion and, as such, have a right to dominate others?" The thing is, with religion, you can quite easily transfer that out. You can quite easily transfer that out as religion to political ideology. You can quite easily transfer that to left or socialistic or communistic ideologies. You can really interchange all of those definitions and descriptors to fit the same point that you've just made. Because unfortunately, we have a bias as a species. Our species is naturally biased to have a confirmation bias. So if our children are right wing and we are right wingers ourselves, we have a bias that we've done well in growing our kids. And the same thing goes with left wingers, and it goes to the same for religiosity, where if we're Muslim and our kids turn out to be Muslims, we're happy for it, and vice versa for Christians and Catholics, so on and so forth. But the thing is with that, is the reason why we feel superior because they are a certain religion or ideological standing is because we are. As soon as somebody is different to the ideological standings that we've produced, those people don't think that they're superior. They think they are. The thing is with humanity is we have a confirmation bias to think we are always superior. That's where we will fail as a species. Our own confirmation biases will always dictate to us that we are right rather than somebody else. when rather we have to remember that everybody that's come up to an idea or ideology has come to that point because they feel that it benefits their idea of what humanity should be. That doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It means that that's their point and thinking that humanity should be. And we should always remember that.
Yeah, that's true. But sometimes I think that in some case we kind of are right to say that we are superior to certain other individuals. Because
well, I think that's wrong. I don't think that we should ever think that we're really superior to anybody. Because at the end of the day, I'm not saying that you think this, I'm just saying in general. I think that people that think that they are superior don't understand that all we are is muscle, cells, blood, so on and so forth. We get a certain amount of time to spend on this earth. We are not superior to anything. We will all turn to dust, whether you believe in God or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
We will all turn to dust.
Actually, is anyone here, well, I'm an atheist, but what do you guys identify as, I guess?
I'm definitely an atheist.
Of course.
Sorry,
Mr. J, really?
No, I'm just very agnostic, so I don't really very agnostic.
I used to be agnostic. I used to be agnostic to the point of saying, I think that there's something, but I'm not sure what. The thing is, I'm not sure there is anything anymore. And if there is, show me proof of it. It's the reason why I changed from agnostic to being an atheist.
Like, I usually was agnostic rather than atheist. Like, the reason why was because when I grew up, the religious people around me, they, because of their religion, they had some they have some morals that were aligned with my morals, and because they were religious, that means that I could have more trust in them when it comes to convictions I had. It wasn't even that religious, moral convictions, because my morality was in some ways aligned with the religion. So therefore, I could confidently talk to them about certain things, and I know that they would most likely support it because of my religion and maybe because of their religion. And also in school, many people that were religious had more opinion in common with me than people who were not religious.
Yeah.
So from personal experience, religious people have given me more of a net positive. They're giving my life more positivity in a interpersonal reaction. When a global or national scale, I'm not so much bigger fan of religion, if that makes sense.
No, I completely understand that. The thing is, it's exactly what I was alluding to before. That's all to do with personal experiences. I mean, when people like ourselves would go, oh, well, that's anecdotal evidence, what you've just described is that. But yet, with that anecdotal evidence, it is what shapes our belief systems. So I do understand where you're coming from. Because if you've had the experience of religious people have more of a moral compass than people that don't, then you're naturally going to gravitate towards people that have more of a moral compass or your understanding thereof. But to me, it has nothing to do with religion on that aspect. I can, or maybe I shouldn't do, I don't know. But I separate the aspect of religion, and I think that they're good people regardless, and the other people are bad people. I don't really have an aspect of religion on it. I just have the aspect of people with moral code.
Had some moral good within them.
Yeah,
and their morality were good, and their morality were connected to their religion. So that's why I had a positive view on religion when I grew up. And also, if you compare the Christians and the Muslim people that I've grown up around to the same in other countries, then it's way more secular and modernized where I live than otherwise, if you get it.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going over the top of you or anything else like that.
No. I know you don't disagree, or
no. It's fine. I think that the good thing about religion, and I do think that religion overall has been a decent thing for humanity, but at the same time, I think that humanity themselves created a religion, and so many different religions were formed all over the rest of the world. I think with the idea of religion themselves, it's a case of humanity created the religions in their respective cultures. And I think with the idea of the cultures that created their own religion, is their understanding of what a social contract was before the idea of a social contract, as in, thou shalt not kill, thou should only do this when this has been told, this should only happen because of this, and so on and so forth. So I think religion was the first form of a social contract. Now, that doesn't mean that it was the best form that has ever occurred and ever will occur. I just think that the stories that were used and the belief systems that was created on the idea of forming a group, as in forming an identity for a banner to be able to create. Take, for instance, the idea of Antifa or socialism or communism or right wing or so on and so forth nowadays. Those are banners that we fall under, wherein some people will follow as a religion. It's a case of it was created by man, not by a god. That's why I've never believed in the idea of a god, but I will understand what people mean by a religion, because I think it's created by man rather than a god.
Well, the concept must be coming from humans in some ways, because, or else how the fuck would humans be able to understand it? Like, even if it's like when we were in philosophy, we read that knowledge of God, this is not scientific or anything, this is philosophical. The knowledge of God was valid because if humans believe in God, then that knowledge could come directly from God, and you can disprove it. From a philosophical standpoint, that made sense. So, but that doesn't mean that I think that that's a valid concern. I support that notion. I think that's a rather. I don't think that's the brightest thing. No, not right. I don't believe that.
No, sure. I mean, everybody has the right to be able to... No, I agree with you. Everybody should have the right to believe in whatever they want to believe. The thing is, I've done a couple of videos going against Christians.
Do I make sense here?
No, you make sense. I understand exactly what you're saying. People will form their own forms of belief no matter what. It doesn't matter if they have a form of religion behind them or not, but if you have something that you can already fall into, your beliefs can circulate around an already set belief system, so you can formulate your beliefs around it. But as you quite rightly said, it's still created by humanity. That's the reason why I stopped being agnostic, because humanity in itself has created so many deities and so many different forms of religion, regardless and throughout the whole of the world in general, regardless of where and when it's happened. There's been so many forms of religion that it must be created by humanity rather than it being a deity in itself. Because the reason why it can't be a deity is because if it was, then it would show itself to more than one particular group or culture. And if it did show itself to one or more groups or culture, then you'd see more similarities throughout the rest of the world than what you already do. And that's the reason why I can never believe in deities.
You can also you can also make the claim that not you don't have to, but it is also a claim to be made that the concept of a deity is something that humans have, because the actual deity and the actual force behind what people call a deity or a god, it's too complex, because what the religions say of their deities for humans to understand. So therefore, the concept of a god or a deity is basically the human's personification of some kind of force or being or something that isn't really that we are not really capable of understanding. And therefore, you can also make it's also possible to make the claim that the reason why people have religious beliefs of an afterlife exists just because of the concept of the things that is possible to understand, but that have been adapted to mean a deity and an afterlife, even though it's something that is beyond the the capacity of humans to understand, and the deity and afterlife are just ways that we have done to interpretate things that might or might not exist, but that's just the human's creation of something that might be real, if that makes sense. You get the point?
No, I
And
completely
that is
understand that. I completely understand that. Though I do have one simple question to that whole point that you just made. What happens if everything that you've just said is the fact of it being the humans' abstract thinking to try and understand what happens when people die because we never understood what happened, and what can be as a point of formulating a community?
Wait, I just need to get something. Wait.
Sure. I mean, for me, with the idea of religion in itself, I think a lot of people would go down the road of saying that, oh, we use it to understand what the afterlife was, or what it was to understand what socialistic ideas were. And by socialistic, I mean community or cultural, which probably I should have used cultural. But with that point, I do honestly really think that when it comes to the point of deities in themselves, I think it's the abstract humanity and the human brain being able to try to physically understand what happened afterwards and be able to console themselves to thinking that they were bigger than what they were, and trying to bring more importance onto themselves. And then because it brings importance onto themselves, more onto humanity. But those are just ideas in myself that I have.
I must ask, do you use headphones?
No.
Oh God, I don't want to use them either.
No, I don't use headphones very often. No, not unless I have my headset on, and that's only when my microphone decides that it's going to be a cunt and fuck off. But
does it work even though I don't have headphones?
It should do.
Oh,
it
good.
should do.
Because I usually get hurt in my ear for wearing them too long.
Yeah, no problem.
God,
I mean, some Bill says in the chat. Bill Whitaker says in the chat, the problem with afterlife is what form do you take, and that would be the question that I would probably ask yourself. If there is a single deity, or if there is a form of a deity, why is it that so many cultures that would have the same sort of abstract thinking, and the reason why I say the same or similar would be that everybody can think of the abstract of thinking of an afterlife or being told of what an afterlife is. Why is it that so many are so different?
Oh, that is because the whole idea and the concept isn't exactly the way that humans are saying there is. It's humans' understanding of it, but the reality of it is something complete. Is something that is beyond humans' ability of understanding. So therefore, it's basically an adaptation of understanding, and that is something that could actually fit into every single religion. That all the religions are used adaptation of something that might be real, but that
I agree.
it's beyond the capacity of humans to understand. So therefore, religion is for example the lens or the framework that we need, that humans adapt in order to make sense of it.
Sure. But the point that I was making, that even though humans in themselves were making the abstract identity, if you will, of what death will be like or what afterlife will turn into, how can you or anybody abstract the thinkings that a deity in themselves would be able to explain to humanity what the afterlife would be, when there's so many differences in what people think that the afterlife is, i.e. reincarnation, or the idea of going to heaven, or the idea of going to hell, or not even be able to do anything, or whatever. The point that I was making that is that so many different religions have so many different forms of afterlife. How can it be that a deity told humanity what it is? And why isn't it that humanity used their own abstract thought to try and understand what they think or what they feel that the afterlife should be due to their culture, which that would then negate the form of a deity, because it would be humanity that thought of it?
Oh yeah, but I just said it that could you just explain with the deity um, being humanity's adaptation and understanding of something that is not that humans are unable to understand.
But that's the point. Though humans may not be able to understand it, their limited understanding of what was going on still uses their own abstract understanding to create an understanding. Because us as humans will try to
Yes,
create.
exactly.
Yeah, but that doesn't falsify the fact of it being a deity. That comes back to humanity creating a culture to be able to either fit into a social contract or to fit into the idea of trying to understand what's going on. That still doesn't classify a form of religion due to a deity. That classifies humanity creating religion to understand what life is.
Yeah, that's probably the point. That's probably the case because the things that is being disguised as the deity is probably beyond understanding. So therefore, it's being humans project their own adaptation and construct of a deity on it. So yeah, you are right about that. That makes
No,
sense.
that's fine. I mean, that's the only reason why I disagree with the idea of deities or gods in themselves. I don't disagree with religion, and there are aspects of religions in themselves that have created good things, and I do believe in that.
Some religions are technically atheistic because atheists just don't believe in deity, and some religions does not have deities. So they would technically be atheistic religions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. The thing is with being an atheist is that you just don't believe in the existence of a god. That's all that atheist means. It means that you're not a theist. That's literally all it means, which means you don't believe in a deity or
Yeah.
any form of deity.
Like it's different between you can technically be an atheist and religious, but like the thing because there's a difference between being atheist and irreligious. Atheists doesn't believe in deities, whereas irreligious people do not believe in a religion. So, and so many people seem to think that irreligious and atheist are the same things, but
No,
that's not entirely true.
I completely
Would you
do
say
not understand how people would be a religious. Now, I can understand how
no,
people would be a
irreligious?
theist. I can.
IRR religious, like it's an E, not A. ER religious. Irreligious. That's just
Buddhism
like
does have a deity, Mr. Whitaker. Yes, it does, and it's the all-powerful Happy Buddha. So yeah, it does have a deity.
is Buddha really a deity in Buddhism though?
Yeah, Buddha is the all-enlightened one that is able to give you the enlightenment that you seek.
But does that make him a deity?
Yeah, because you worship Buddha, because Buddha is able to give you something that you don't have. A deity doesn't mean that you're necessarily a god. A deity necessarily means that you worship a figurehead or figure of something that you cannot achieve by yourself.
So would it be incorrect to assume Buddhism must be an atheistic religion because they don't have a god? Or would that be accurate?
No, the thing is with Buddhism is that they do have a god. That's the thing with Buddhism. They do have a god, and it is the all-powerful Buddha.
But he's not a god, or is he? According to the religion.
It's one of the top searches on Google is when you type in "does Buddhism." Buddhism seeks to react to a state of nirvana following the path of Buddha. Sigaviv Gautama, who went on a quest of enlightenment around the 6th century BC. There is no belief in a personal God, believing that nothing is fixed or permanent and that change is always possible. So they don't believe that Buddha is God, but they follow Buddha, which makes him a deity.
Okay.
I can link that in the chat if everybody wants it. It is a Google search, so everybody can just have a look and just see if they want to do it themselves. Just so everybody knows that I'm not linking them away. But Buddha is not necessarily a god, but he is definitely a deity.
Okay, so that makes Buddhist theistic. Rather than atheistic.
I suppose that it's following his teaching, so you could argue that it's deistic, but at the same time, you're not following the person, you're following the teaching, so you could argue either way.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to. It's always fun to like take ideas and like discuss them, because then you are more like to understand them better at the ending, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
sure. Yeah, sure. Do you have anything else that you would like to talk about? Because I'm going to get off very, very soon because it's coming up to 11 my time, 2300 hours.
Oh God, I'm not sure about that. Like the thing, well, if we go back to the original point, is that I'm pretty happy that Britain is going to get their Brexit, but I don't think that would be enough to save the country.
I suppose that if we got the clean breakaway from Europe itself, I think it would be an initial startup to be able to save the country. Though that does depend on leadership, regardless of what party it comes from. But it has the potential to save it. Where if we stay in Europe, as most people, or should I say, most leadership seems to want, then we're not going to get anywhere. Unfortunately. Bill Whitaker again says exactly what I'm thinking. The EU is dying in itself because the EU is literally tearing itself apart at the minute.
I don't think. Sorry.
Carry on.
No, that's good.
Okay.
The EU is going to die.
Well, I made a prediction. I made a prediction last year, and that prediction was by 2022, I think that the EU itself will start tearing itself apart. The reason for that is because I said that countries like Hungary, Austria, Poland, and Czech Republic will end up trying to pull themselves away from the EU. The reason why is because they want their sovereignty back. And I did not include the UK in that because I wasn't sure what was going on. But as saying that, I'm actually going to be getting off.
I feel like people say that they are going to punish Eastern Europe for not taking enough migrants, and I said that sure, I would prefer that because there is no punishment worse than all the migrants.
True on that one. I do agree with you on that one. I'm going to leave this stream here because I've been going for about 4 hours now. So I'm going to leave that here. Thank you very much, everybody, for spending time with me. Thank you very much, Jay Willie, as well, for spending time with me on my birthday stream, so to speak. And
happy birthday.
No problem. I will see everybody again very, very soon. And thank you very much. Bye-bye for now.